The scene opens inside the busy Donghai University building, where quite a crowd of students has already gathered. Lin Mo stares hard at his test paper, complaining that the questions are absolutely and completely way too difficult. Right then, a group of girls enters the room, instantly turning every single head in class. Whispers break out immediately as the guys start gossiping about how cute she is, making everyone look at her like she is the absolute queen of the campus. She is just a freshman. This is Du Xiaoyu, and she does not seem particularly thrilled about all the unwanted attention she is getting. None of them can understand what she is even doing here, since this sophomore class is completely off limits to her. Turns out she is actually engaged to a local student, someone her friends find pretty boring, a real drag. Frankly, she would much rather stay single than marry that trash. And guess whose desk they stop at? Our quiet main guy, who does not show even a tiny bit of interest in the girls. One of them steps forward and marches straight up to the desk where he is sitting. The pushy girl slams both hands onto his desk with all her might to force him to look up. She demands he hand over his seat for her friends, but our guy calmly points out there are plenty of empty spots open in the back of the classroom. She does not care about that, claiming it is her absolute rule to always sit right at the front. The girl quickly notices that he cannot even solve a simple practice question on his paper, so she mocks him for taking a front desk when he clearly does not belong there. He stays quiet. Unfortunately, her insults are totally spot on. Lin Mo glances over at Du Xiaoyu, who remains entirely cold and indifferent to all the drama. Right at that moment, another classmate decides to step into the argument. He pats Lin Mo on the shoulder to back the girls up. It is one of his peers, eager to play hero and impress a group of beautiful girls. Too much pressure, our guy finally gives in. He quietly starts packing up his notebook and prepares to move. Total embarrassment. Everyone watches in silence as he packs up. Walking past Du Xiaoyu, he sneaks a quick glance at her beautiful, frozen and expressionless face. Suddenly, she raises her voice, calling him a total coward right to his face. Her friend scoffs, wondering how a loser like him got into this university. She even suspects his wealthy family must have used some major backroom connections to get him in. Du Xiaoyu does not care. Where he studies means absolutely nothing to her. All she wants is to finally break off this ridiculous arranged engagement. Later, Lin Mo leaves his classes behind and walks alone through the quiet, dim, and empty city streets, heading straight for his home. Even though he does not care about her, those insults still sting pretty deep. He just cannot erase the cold, hateful look on her face. To be fair, he was never happy about this forced, arranged marriage setup with her anyway. It was completely set up by their traditional families without his consent. Shaking his head, Lin Mo decides to focus on his beloved grandfather instead. He hails a passing cab, desperately hoping the old man's health is rapidly improving by now. The ride is pretty quick, and they soon pull up to a grand estate. This is the impressive, massive mansion of the wealthy Lin family. Lin Mo steps up to the heavy front door, calling out to let his grandfather know. He reaches for the handle and freezes. Something is wrong. Loud shouting, he instantly recognizes the chaotic noise coming from downstairs. His family is at it again, screaming at the top of their lungs. Every single relative has gathered, instantly freezing the warm air. A heavy silence fills the room, loaded with bitter grudges. His aunt Lin Rong is the very first to greet him. She explains that his grandfather is at the hospital for a checkup. Not surprised at all, Lin Mu calmly says he is heading upstairs. He walks silently past the older men, who just sit there without saying a word. The eldest uncle, Lin Yidai, is the very first to raise his voice in anger. He is furious that the boy apparently forgot his manners. The second uncle, Lin Yif, does not even want to bother. With a smug smirk on his face, he whispers quietly to the other relatives. And get this, they actually think he is going to die soon anyway. The next day at lunch, Lin Mu finally meets with his grandfather. He reveals he is taking a few days off school to look after the old man. The old man is absolutely thrilled to get some quality time. But deep down, the young man is incredibly sad about his grandfather's failing health. Ever since our hero's parents passed away, the old man's health has been rapidly declining. Nobody knows if he will ever recover. Suddenly, his aunt interrupts them. She tells them it is time to join the rest of the family. Within minutes, everyone is sitting together at the dinner table. Eldest uncle, Lin Yidai, immediately takes charge of the table and starts talking business. He announces they are hosting a massive auction very soon. He demands full authority to make decisions, claiming there are major problems with the setup. Because of recent setbacks, he wants the entire auction department placed under his control. The other brother immediately snaps back, completely disagreeing with this power play. He tells Lin Mo that if he cannot handle it, he should stay out. He offers to take over. Right then, our protagonist stands up. He quietly announces that he is already full and wants to go back to his room. Naturally, no one even notices him leave because they are too busy fighting. A fierce battle over the business erupts. Lin Mo enters his room. He lets out a heavy sigh, completely exhausted by all the screaming. Stepping out onto the balcony, he sadly remembers how his parents died too soon. He truly wishes they could be here to see this mess. He wishes they could see how their proud family is slowly falling apart. The weight of it all is almost too heavy. Suddenly, an uncle checks on him. He walks over to see if the young man is doing okay. The uncle gently guesses that he must be missing his parents. Lin Mo does not appreciate the intrusion and asks what he wants. But the uncle claims he does not need anything from him. He was simply worried because the boy barely touched his food. He then mentions how only Lin Mo's father possessed their grandfather's skills. The eldest son was the only one who truly mastered them. Instead, he chose to lose himself completely in antique studies. He ignored his grandfather's wishes to lead the family business. Even taking the helm did not help the family, and eventually his uncle decided not to continue the talk, coldly stating that people should not get what they cannot handle or things will end up in a total mess. Lin Mo quickly turned around with furrowed brows, utterly confused by what his uncle was trying to say. With those harsh words, the uncle offered no explanation and suddenly shoved the young man hard in the back, throwing him off balance. Falling straight over the balcony railing, the freezing wind howled fiercely in his ears as he watched the hard ground rush up toward him in absolute horror. With a sickening crunch, his body hit the asphalt below and a deep crimson puddle began to spread. Meanwhile, his ruthless uncle stood calmly on the balcony, staring down without a single shred of remorse. He muttered that this would send the boy to reunite with his parents. The rest of the family ran outside only to see that Lin Mo had fallen from the high balcony. Meanwhile, the hospital staff had absolutely no idea about the oncoming crisis. Suddenly, a panicked nurse burst in. She was looking for Dr. Joe. She urgently reported that a critical patient had just fallen from a balcony, prompting the chief physician to immediately send Dr. Joe to the scene. Knowing how dire things were, she rushed off to assist with the emergency. By then, the broken youth was already being wheeled into the trauma room. A team of specialist doctors quickly crowded around Lin Mo, working frantically to stabilize him. His severe, shattered injuries left him hovering near death. Dr. Joe arrived and immediately demanded a full status report on him. A colleague explained that the patient fell from the 4th floor, suffering from severe internal bleeding, making his chances of survival incredibly slim. But Dr. Joe possessed legendary acupuncture skills that might save him. She knew a highly specialized technique, though the risk was massive. The chief told her to proceed anyway, as they had nothing left to lose. So Dr. Joe obeyed her boss and immediately reached for her medical needles. She focused all her concentration and prepared to begin the procedure. Within seconds, she carefully drove several needles into Lin Mo's head. This was his last hope. Miraculously, the heart monitor soon stabilized. She explained that she had forced his body into suspended animation. But keeping him in this state for too long would cause permanent brain death. Leaving the rest to the surgical team, she stepped back as they prepared to operate. They needed to move fast and utilize this narrow window of time. But then chaos. The monitor beeped frantically as his heart rate spiked. The chief physician realized that the acupuncture technique was failing. He yelled out to his medical assistants to bring the defibrillator immediately. They pressed the metal pads to his chest, charging the device. A sharp shock of 200 watts surged directly into him. He spasmed violently. The electric shock tore directly through him. They anxiously monitored his vitals, but nothing was showing any improvement. Increasing the shock to 300 watts did nothing, and the monitor flatlined. The long beep announced that Lin Mo had officially lost his fight for life. As the operation failed, a devastated Dr. Joe slowly pulled off her mask. to tell the family that he was gone, and the nurse quietly agreed. She promised to help her, but she still couldn't look away from the patient. They failed to save. The team covered Lin Mo's cold body, preparing to wheel it down to the morgue. Then they stepped out of the operating room. To handle the paperwork, none of the staff had any idea what was coming. Because right at that moment, a strange dark sphere slowly formed right over Lin Mo's body. A sudden glowing spark of light flickered into existence, seemingly searching the quiet room. Specifically for our fallen hero, the light danced over his body for a second. Before diving straight into his chest, Lin Mo's physical form was already growing cold, his drifting soul hovering just above the empty, lifeless shell on the table. But this mysterious entity had no plans to let him slip away so easily. Abruptly grabbing his soul, a ghostly fist clenched, ready to force that spark of life back into Lin Mo's cold flesh, once the spectral arm faded, his body defying gravity as it slowly lifted off the operating table. He was literally floating in midair. Bit by bit, this incredibly strain force poured itself directly into Lin Mo, working desperately to save his life. Then a massive, ornate ring materialized out of nowhere on his index finger. With the fusion complete, the young man hung completely motionless in the air. And get this, Lin Mo had no idea what kind of miracle just saved him. That wild night changed everything. The next morning, Dr. Joe returned to work. Standing just outside her office door, her heavy, exhausted eyelids showed. She had spent a sleepless night drowning in guilt over Lin Mo's passing. Suddenly, a sharp scream shattered the silence. The doctor flinched. Her grogginess vanished instantly. She scrambled out of her seat, dashing towards the source of the noise to see what the chaos was about. Moments later, Dr. Joe burst into one of the recovery rooms, finding a group of terrified nurses huddled together in absolute panic. The shaken nurses could barely get their words out, stammering that they had seen something utterly creepy. Dr. Joe scanned the room. Searching for whatever went wrong, she slowly approached Lin Mo's body, who was still lying there completely motionless on the hospital bed. But the entire staff was in shock. He had somehow grown taller overnight. Baffled by this impossibility, Dr. Joe decided to run a thorough physical check. As she touched his skin, she realized it was still warm. With her mind racing, she reached out her hand to check his breathing, pressing her fingers right under his nose to be absolutely certain. Right at that second, Lin Mo's eyes snapped open, waking up from what should have been his deathbed. Dr. Joe froze in place, utterly speechless and unable to process this miracle. Meanwhile, the terrified nurses practically jumped out of their skins, screaming about ghosts. She quickly told her colleagues to quiet down. This was a hospital. And she explained that Lin Mo had likely just survived a state of near-death. Now sitting upright on the bed, our protagonist was completely lost, looking around at all the unfamiliar faces staring back at him. His eyes swept over the clinical white walls as his confused mind scrambled to piece together his scattered memories. He was desperate for answers. He tried to piece together what happened, but as the days passed, Lin Mo realized he could not even remember his own identity. Once he woke up, they moved him to ICU room 303. Dr. Joe was absolutely shocked by the entire situation, refusing to leave the side of this miraculous patient. She began to suspect that those acupuncture needles had caused the issue, damaging the exact point responsible for his memories. Her theory was that the severe physical trauma had made him completely forget his own name. The doctor gently told him not to panic, promising his memories would return. Sooner or later, she pointed to a call button he could press to summon a nurse if he needed any help at all. Soon she left the room to handle other pressing matters at the hospital. Finally alone, our hero was left in total silence, resting after that brutal night. Fully awake now, he stared at the ceiling, realizing with a chill that he could not feel a single drop of spiritual chi, and his body was weaker than ever. But get this, a supreme cultivator had transmigrated into this body, using his remaining chi to escape certain death and secure this new vessel. Otherwise, he would have died, a tragic fate for the world's greatest cultivator to end up like this. Cold fury burned inside him toward the Xuantai and Yugi sects for being so arrogant, swearing to return to the cultivation world and completely destroy them all. Meanwhile, back at the Lin mansion, they had already received the shocking update from the hospital. One of the scheming uncles was furious to hear his nephew was still breathing. A subordinate quickly reported that the target was alive but completely Amnesiac, this brought him some relief, so he ordered his man to take care of the job, promising a huge payout. The aunt was incredibly confused since they were previously assured that Lin Mo would not survive. Her brother could not offer any answers, only confirming that the kid had somehow survived the ordeal, but had lost every single memory. Upon hearing this, the cruel woman immediately began to hope that their nephew had been reduced to a mindless, helpless vegetable. The uncle chuckled softly, noting that she could not tell memory loss apart from full paralysis. The aunt anxiously wondered about their next step, suggesting they alter their schemes. Knowing his sister was the closest remaining relative to Lin Mo, he urged her to visit the hospital. They could not risk exposing their plot without testing the waters first. Her main task was simply to verify if their nephew had truly lost his mind. Meanwhile, Lin Mo rested peacefully in his hospital bed, unaware of the plots forming against him. Suddenly, a soft knock on the door broke the heavy silence, and he politely invited them inside. He was quite confused about what was happening, so he calmly asked Dr. Zhou what brought her back so quickly. She explained that a visitor had arrived, asking if he recognized the woman. Lin Mo simply pointed to the thick bandage wrapped around his head, repeating that he was physically unable to recognize anyone. The aunt immediately acted, deeply offended by his cold tone, but he just offered a flat apology. Stating that she was a complete stranger, she told him not to worry. She told him to rest up and heal, promising she would drop by again soon. She also asked the doctor why the kid looked so completely different. Dr. Zhou explained his face was badly crushed from the nasty fall. Reconstructive surgery was a must, earning a deep bow of gratitude from the aunt. She begged them to continue taking excellent, careful care of her nephew. Inwardly, she was thrilled. Lin Mo had actually forgotten everything. Days later, the boy was still in bed, looking for clues. He desperately needed to understand this world, finding a massive shocker instead. Humanity had only existed for 5,000 years. That was it. The spiritual energy here was incredibly faint, but an old book offered answers. Piece by piece, he was finally figuring out the rules of this place. Soon, Dr. Zhou arrived with the best news: discharge time. Lin Mo offered a polite, old-fashioned thank you for her amazing support. She giggled, highly amused by how formal the young man was being. He sounded like someone who had traveled straight out of ancient history. Embarrassed, he realized she now knew his secret martial arts obsession. She urged him to get home and start recovering those lost memories. Following her instructions, Lin Mo eagerly headed for the exit. He stepped out into the open, leaving the hospital grounds behind. Right on cue, a taxi was already idling by the curb to take him home. Looking out the window, he was amazed by the weak spiritual energy. Yet somehow humanity had managed to evolve beautifully without it. Before long, the car pulled up outside the Grand University gates. He patted his pockets, only to freeze as panic set in. They were totally empty, and the driver was demanding $50. Lin Mo tried explaining that he had literally just been discharged from the hospital. The driver scoffed. He definitely was not buying that cheap excuse, especially not from a wealthy student at Donghai University. This place was famous for hosting the richest kids in town. The driver grunted, telling him to just call a friend to pay up. Talk about awkward, he did not even know if he had friends. Standing there, he felt completely lost, knowing absolutely no one. Suddenly, a girl popped up near the car window. She instantly recognized Lin Mo, waving as if they were quite close. He realized this was his perfect chance to escape the awkwardness. After explaining the situation, he begged her to cover the cab fare. She happily agreed, assuming his hospital stay was for cosmetic surgery. He urged her to pay first so they could talk outside. He desperately needed to get out of that stuffy car to explain properly. They began strolling through the beautiful, sprawling campus together. As they walked, Lin Mo shared how he ended up hospitalized. He mentioned falling from his own balcony, which sounded pretty absurd. Hearing that he had total amnesia, the girl froze in shock. She realized he did not just forget events, he forgot her. Lin Mo could only offer a deeply apologetic, awkward smile. Lin Mo apologized because he could not even remember his longtime girlfriend. She then asked if the doctors had mentioned any way to bring back Lin Mo's memories. He had not heard of anything like that, but still hoped he could remember everything soon. With a pretty sad voice, she noted that Forgetting things might be nice, since she often wanted to forget it all. Right then they ran into Du Zioyu, who was accompanied by her usual squad of friends. She quickly looked away from the protagonist, feeling nothing but total disgust. Still, for a split second, her gaze fell on his face, and she immediately noticed a huge change in Lin Mo. Du Zioyu instantly assumed our hero must have gotten some plastic surgery. Lin Mo felt quite embarrassed that he was not the first to notice this, and tried to explain things again. Just then, his girlfriend chimed in to confirm that Lin Mo did have some work done, joking that he looked cute. Du Zioyu just laughed off his choice, completely unimpressed by his face. She made it clear she would never marry a total loser, surgery or not. Hearing this, Lin Mo realized that the original owner of this body was engaged. Lin Mo wanted no part of this and immediately suggested calling off their engagement right then and there. After all, he hated her too. Du Zioyu and his girlfriend were absolutely stunned by his sudden, bold words. With total confidence, Lin Mo stated that he would never want to marry someone as arrogant as her, of course, the most popular girl in school. Tried to act like she did not care about being rejected so openly, only remarking that his sudden bravery was somewhat surprising for a guy like him. But Lin Mo wanted this engagement dead and buried so she would never bother him. Seeing this, Lin Mo's girlfriend burst out laughing and fully backed him up. Lin Mo was highly annoyed by her attitude. He just wanted to leave. He sincerely hoped he would never cross paths with Du Zioyu ever again. Yet she could not stop staring at the guy she once called a loser. She seriously never expected this former loser to show such backbone. Meanwhile, Lin Mo's girlfriend was thrilled. He finally got some sweet revenge. She explained that before losing his memory, he was incredibly weak and cowardly. He was constantly bullied and put down by everyone around him. It was not just minor teasing, it was pure, constant humiliation. Lin Mo realized Du Zioyu wanted to end things all along on her own, and he just let her off the hook too easily. His girlfriend agreed, saying that arrogant girl did not deserve his time anyway, but what now? She assumed he might regret letting the most popular girl in school go. But truth be told, he did not care one bit. She dropped the subject, telling him to stay far away from Du Zioyu in the future. She then offered to guide him to class since his memory was gone. But as they walked, someone suddenly threw a razor-sharp dart right at them. Aimed right at his girlfriend's eye, but with lightning-fast reflexes she easily snatched the sharp dart out of the air with 2 fingers. The culprit was Chen Hao, a guy she had repeatedly warned about playing with dangerous weapons inside the classroom. He was about to get an earful. He felt pretty shaken up after angering Tang Beibei, who also happened to be their class monitor. Lin Mo quickly promised it would not happen again. Still, she gave him a warning. Their classmates lacked real martial skills, so he shouldn't show off in public. Instead, she took the dart she had just caught to show him how to do it properly. Tang Beibei threw the dart with perfect accuracy, hitting the dead center. Bullseye, no chance of a miss. Lin Mo was shocked by her precision. He realized her skill level was surprisingly close to someone in the foundation establishment realm. The homeroom teacher then stood up to formally reintroduce Lin Mo to them. The entire class, she explained that a recent head injury had caused him to lose his memory, asking everyone to kindly help him get back on his feet and recover. Their classmates immediately welcomed Lin Mo back with a massive, incredibly supportive round of applause. Lin Mo quickly realized that Tang Beibei was not actually a bad person. She was also clearly pretty popular among their peers. Now, knock knock, his peaceful introduction was suddenly interrupted by someone at the classroom door. Within seconds, a beautiful young woman stepped right inside, fully prepared to start the lesson. Wearing a bright smile, she asked the class if she had missed anything important. Lin Mo watched her enter, assuming she was simply another classmate arriving late. You can already guess what happens next. Tang Beibei burst out laughing at his mistake. He had actually mistaken their instructor, Song Lingrao, for a mere student. Completely speechless, Miss Song then kindly asked him to step outside with her. Now that he was back on campus, they needed to have a quick chat. The class teacher frowned when Lin Mo hesitated, urging him to hurry up and follow. Go on, she urged, follow Miss Song. The teacher already knew about his accident. She kindly asked if he was truly feeling okay after everything he went through. Lin Mo thanked her for the concern, assuring her that he was fully recovered now. Hearing that was a massive relief, so she smiled and offered a bit more. If he ever needed anything at all, he was always welcome in her office. He was genuinely grateful for the help, but their quiet conversation was suddenly cut short. Surprise, it was Tang Bebe, popping her head in to check on them. She wanted to take our hero out for lunch, prompting Miss Song to smile warmly. Their talk was done, so she dismissed them and thanked the girl for helping. Tang Bebe beamed at the praise, insisting she was only looking out for him. After all, they were classmates. Meanwhile, Lin Mo silently walked to the exit. Without a word, he got up from his chair and walked out. Song Lingrao quietly watched them walk away, deeply lost in her own complicated thoughts. A total transformation, not just his looks but his entire vibe had changed. Walking to the cafeteria, Lin Mo brought up her crazy skill with that dart. She must train incredibly hard. Tang Bebe simply laughed it off, explaining that her rigorous martial arts training at home made simple tricks like that feel like second nature. The girl asked if he wanted to learn, and he jumped at the offer. Practicing would be pretty great, he replied, his own martial interest now fully sparked. Tang Bebe paused, looking him over with a critical eye, noticing something different. His physique seemed vastly more solid and toned than before his accident. Incredible, it looked as though Lin Mo had been training like a maniac. She jokingly wondered if falling off a balcony was some secret training method. Lin Mo himself was not particularly happy, since he actually almost died. Ultimately, Tang Bei agreed that gaining power was certainly not worth his death. Seeing his friend get deeply upset thinking about it, the young man spoke up. He asked her not to take it so seriously, then Tang Bei felt a sudden interest in discovering what our hero was going to do next. Lin Mo calmly replied that he had no plans since he could not even remember anything about his past. Still, Tang Bei looked for a silver lining in this situation, playfully asking if he ever wanted to change his entire path in life. Hearing this, Lin Mo froze in utter confusion, realizing that he had never actually stopped to think about such a deep question. Tang Bei revealed that the old Lin Mo was a totally helpless weakling who could never stand up for himself against bullies like Dukia, but now this new Lin Mo looked different and possessed a completely unique personality. She truly believed that his near-fatal accident was a blessing from above to reboot his life, so she suggested that the young man seize this moment, especially since his body possessed such incredible physical power. Confused, Lin Mo asked her what he should actually do to start making those big life changes. Hearing this, Tang Bei smiled warmly, clearly harboring some exciting plans of her own. She then asked if he had ever heard of a legendary, highly secretive organization known as the Dragon Protectors. The name immediately struck Lin Mo as quite peculiar. Tang Bei explained she first needed to introduce him to the vast martial arts underworld before explaining who they truly were. She then asked Lin Mo if he believed martial masters could kill using simple leaves. Lin Mo instantly guessed these legendary figures channeled spiritual chi to do it, so he told her he absolutely believed it. Tang Bei seriously warned him that such elites were incredibly rare. She added that legends spoke of elite masters reaching the legendary Xiantian realm, and even her own grandfather had once come incredibly close to it. Sadly, the old master was overcome by inner demons, completely ruining his cultivation. Fortunately for the family, he survived the ordeal. Hearing this, Lin Mo comforted her, saying that his survival was what truly mattered, but Tang Bei simply hoped someone in the Tang clan would eventually reach that height. Lin Mo, hearing about the famous Tang name, was immediately taken by surprise and wondered if she belonged to the legendary. Instantly wondering if she belonged to the famous Sichuan clan, Tang Bei laughed out loud and playfully poked his forehead, amused that he associated them with the fictional Tang sect from a martial arts story, but she confirmed that their actual sect of poison and weapons did exist in reality. During their golden era, they had several powerful Xiantian realm masters on their side. Lin Mo was utterly dumbfounded. He had not expected this at all and quickly asked how powerful those masters actually were. Tang Bei, recalling her grandfather's tales, explained that all of their ultimate martial arts were made by those fighters. Lin Mo quickly realized that these Xiantian experts possess strength on par with. He asks about the Foundation realm, wondering if her sect has any masters that strong. Tang Bei quickly explains that the Dragon Protectors serve a very specific purpose. They were built by the Ha Xia government to handle extreme, classified threats. Various sects even send disciples here to trigger faster cultivation breakthroughs and she coaches them. Our main character hesitates here. He isn't part of any major sect, so can he even qualify to join them? Tang Bei reassures him, promising that his raw, untapped potential is more than enough. With proper training, he'll easily match their top recruits. Then, she asks if he wants in. He ponders the sudden invitation, wondering if he should actually take this massive leap. It's a huge, spontaneous decision, but he wants to live a life that actually matters. He firmly agrees. He wants to experience a completely different kind of life. Late that night, they stand right outside the massive Tang Long Corporation building. Lin Mo is genuinely shocked to find their secret headquarters hidden in plain sight. Why build an elite base right in the middle of a bustling downtown? Tang Bei smiles. It's actually the perfect strategic location for a government agency. Plus, if a crisis erupts, they can deploy and respond in a heartbeat. Lin Mo realizes he asked a pretty basic question, nodding along in agreement. He was overthinking things. Her logic is completely solid. Before long, they step inside the lobby and head straight for the elevators. Lin Mo looks around at the absolute scale of the high-end corporate office. Just look at this place. It is definitely not your average corporate office. Tang Bei pulls out a sleek keycard to verify her high-level security clearance. She swipes it across the hidden elevator panel, unlocking the restricted bottom levels. Instantly, a secure digital notification pops up right on the glass interface. The system begins scanning her files, and Tang Bei starts inputting her credentials. Tang Bei explains that the entire corporate facade is just a clever front. She tells Lin Mo to hang tight. He's about to see their real world. Having lived as a traditional cultivator, Lin Mo has absolutely no experience with high-tech elevators. His stomach drops as the elevator suddenly plummets straight down at high speed. A soft chime dings. They have finally reached their deep underground destination. The heavy doors slide open, and Tang Bei formally welcomes him to the base. Before them lies a massive, sprawling underground facility humming with raw energy. A massive army of technical staff and security officers are hard at work. Wasting absolutely no time, Tang Bei leads him straight toward the commander's office. They are heading to see one of the top brass of the Dragon Protectors. Sensing an unfamiliar spiritual presence, the sleeping old man instantly snaps wide awake. He is completely blindsided, demanding to know what Tang Bei wants at this hour. Meanwhile, Lin Mo spots the brilliant, dense aura of spiritual energy surrounding the elder. It looks like this veteran warrior has successfully advanced into the energy-gathering stage. He broke through the foundation realm, ascending directly into the energy-gathering stage. Even so, Lin Mo notices this warrior is still far from mastering this tier. Tang Bei eagerly introduces Lin Mo, calling him a once-in-a-generation martial arts prodigy. He possesses an extraordinary talent you wouldn't find in 10,000 other masters. But Uncle Yang isn't amused, thinking she is just bringing her boyfriend around. He scowls, warning her that it's far too late at night for these jokes. Uncle Yang warns her that it is far too serious a matter for games. Too late for him to learn martial arts, she quickly clarified he was not her boyfriend. Instead, she suggested that the leader test out his skills personally. Uncle Yang simply could not say no to Tang Bei, choosing to believe her words. Walking over to Lin Mo, he placed a firm, confident hand on his shoulder. He stared deeply into the boy's eyes, searching for any hidden strength. To his absolute shock, he discovered that Lin Mo possessed an incredibly resilient physique. This was highly unusual for someone with zero formal martial arts training. Tang Bei beamed. Her claims were proven right. She added that Lin Mo was completely ordinary before his fall. But surviving that drop had somehow made his physical frame many times stronger. Uncle Yang stared in disbelief, and honestly, who could blame him? It sounded impossible. Even Lin Mo was completely left in the dark, since the doctors found nothing. They ran every single test imaginable, but the changes remained a total mystery. Realizing that Lin Mo already knew about the Dragon Protectors, the leader made his move. He extended a direct invitation to join their ranks, and without a second thought. Lin Mo agreed, but first he had to survive a dangerous initiation test. Uncle Yang warned him that once he became a protector, there was no turning back. Lin Mo had already heard all these warnings from Tang Bei beforehand. His mind was made up long before he even stepped through these doors. Pleased with his conviction, Uncle Yang decided to prepare the trial immediately. He was confident that with such raw talent, Lin Mo would easily pass. He reached into his coat and handed the young man an ancient-looking book. It detailed a secret breath-holding technique, which Lin Mo had to burn after reading. Any leak of this confidential information would result in severe consequences. He instructed the boy to master the technique by following the manual exactly. Once completed, he was to report straight back to Uncle Yang. Thanking the leader for the gear, Lin Mo took the book firmly. Seeing everything was settled, Tang Bei suggested they get the trial started. Uncle Yang gave a nod of approval, letting them dismiss themselves. As they left the office, Uncle Yang let out a satisfied laugh. He knew he had just secured an incredibly capable new fighter. Tang Bei had delivered a literal miracle to their local branch. Soon, they would have a powerful elite member in their ranks. After the meeting, Lin Mo headed straight to his new dormitory. He sat down and immediately began studying the breath-holding technique. Yet he was still puzzled by Uncle Yang's bizarre spiritual energy signature. He guessed it was because the spiritual energy in this world was incredibly weak. Suddenly, that mysterious ring materialized on his index finger once again. Talk about perfect timing. Within seconds, it began actively absorbing all the surrounding energy. This relic seemed to be his last link to the cultivator world. He wondered how long it would take to unlock its spatial storage. Ultimately, he resolved to seek out answers at the local library. He would go searching for clues the second the sun came up. Keeping to his plan, he arrived at the archives early next morning. Carrying a massive stack of books, he sat at a vacant table. He began flipping through the pages, desperately searching for answers. Hunting for the information he needed, suddenly a sharp noise shattered the quiet. That sudden, irritating noise made him flinch, completely tearing his focus away from the actual book. As it turned out, Du Xiaoyu was incredibly annoyed with some guy hitting on her. She coldly warned Wang Dong to leave her alone, adding a harsh piece of her mind. Contemptuously, she spat that his family wealth meant absolutely nothing in her eyes. But the arrogant rich kid refused to back down, claiming they were perfect for each other. Du Xiaoyu was disgusted by his inflated ego and reminded him of his place. She fiercely declared that her elite family would never allow someone like him to join them. Having made her absolute disinterest clear, she turned her back on Wang Dong. She began walking away, but the stubborn pest refused to let her go. He kept following and mockingly brought up the fact that she was betrothed to a complete loser. Everyone in town already knew that Lin Mo was a useless lowlife. So Wang Dong laughed, loudly declaring that such a pathetic trash did not deserve her beauty. It was taking every ounce of Du Xiaoyu's self-control not to lose her temper. Meanwhile, our main character was completely ignoring the dramatic scene unfolding. He just kept his eyes glued down, focusing entirely on the detailed book in his hands. Spotting his rival nearby, Wang Dong decided to direct his anger at Lin Mo. But Lin Mo stubbornly continued to pretend he could neither see nor hear the noisy bully. He refused to even look up from his reading, which irritated the bully further. Taking Lin Mo's quietness as a lack of manners, Wang Dong stepped forward. Staring right into his face, he demanded to know if the quiet youth had some issue. Our hero did not even recognize this annoying guy standing in front of him. So he casually asked what exactly the noisy Wang Dong wanted from him in this place. The bully immediately threatened him, demanding he call off his engagement to Du Xiaoyu. Lin Mo calmly stated that they had actually canceled the entire arrangement a long time ago. He added that her personal life was none of his business anymore. Stunned by this sudden revelation, the bully spun around to ask the girl if it was true. Seeing an opportunity to cause some trouble, the beauty chose to lie. She softly lied that they were still together, instantly triggering the explosive rage of the bully. Furious at the supposed lie, Wang Dong violently ripped the study book right from his hands. Caught off guard, Lin Mo lost his grip on the heavy textbook. The book crashed onto the hard floor with a loud slap, fueling the guy's blind rage. Wang Dong snarled that the kid would pay dearly for trying to trick him. Completely unfazed by the threat, the silent Lin Mo just offered a quiet and indifferent hum. But he had absolutely no intention of letting this slide. He suddenly lunged forward, firmly grabbing the loud bully before the guy could even try to run. Looking him dead in the eyes, Lin Mo cold-bloodedly asked what he planned to do now. Our hero was not playing around, preparing to teach this loudmouth a painful lesson. The weak bully could not even find his voice before crashing awkwardly onto the hard floor. Groaning, Wang Dong tried to scramble back up after that brutal takedown. But Lin Mo was definitely not done delivering his harsh and brutal dose of cold reality. He ruthlessly kicked him aside and firmly planted his foot on his chest. With his opponent pinned, he faced Du Zioyu. He directly looked at Du Zioyu, asking if she still desperately needed this ridiculous engagement. Once again, the girl haughtily claimed that they were still bound together. Defying the family elders, not her choice, but she had no say. Besides, Lin Mo never expected his newly announced fiancé to be such a headache. Lin Mo turns to Wang Dong, who has clearly heard every single word of theirs. He warns the guy to back off, they are engaged. But the arrogant bully just raises his voice, demanding to know who Lin Mo is. As for our protagonist, he does not care about the empty threats at all. Instead, he slams his hand down on Wang Dong with even more brutal force. The tough guy instantly shrieks in pain, begging Lin Mo to let him go. He promises to leave quietly, so Lin Mo finally lets go of the pathetic bully. Get lost, he coldly orders the kid to disappear from his sight. Completely humiliated, Wang Dong silently slinks out of the library, boiling with rage. The embarrassment cuts deep. He has never faced this kind of public humiliation before. Already, he is plotting a brutal revenge against the brave soul who crossed him. Meanwhile, a massive clamor breaks out among the shocked students watching them. No one ever expected a full-blown physical brawl right inside the quiet university library. A random bystander starts complaining loudly about the disruptive noise and fighting. Lin Mo quickly offers a polite apology and tries to make up an excuse. He lies that some clumsy student just bumped the table, then cleans up. As he quietly fixes the chairs, Ducha Yui watches him with genuine surprise. She notes that he has truly changed. The old Lin Mo was a coward. Lin Mo silently realizes this reputation shift is actually a pretty good thing for him. He will face a lot fewer problems. Still, Ducha offers a warning. Even though she dislikes her fiancé, she warns him that Wang Dong is vengeful. Lin Mo simply flashes a calm smirk, not looking worried at all. He offers a quick thank you and turns his attention back to his books. His eyes land right on the ancient manual the bully had tried to steal. A specific passage immediately catches his eye about dealing with returning enemies. Finish what you started. The manual's warning is clear, and Lin Mo gets the message. Now it is time to seek out Lu Shou Yang to learn something new. Later that evening, the scene shifts to the Wang family home. A storm brews. The patriarch is absolutely furious with his useless, highly paid subordinates. Despite being compensated extremely well, they failed to gather any useful information. They have kept the old man waiting for an entire week with nothing. The guards desperately try to explain that Lin Mo was always just a pathetic weakling. But somehow this loser managed to completely shatter the young master's arm. Witnesses swear the target they saw looked like an entirely different person. Hearing about this sudden, drastic transformation instantly piques the patriarch's dark interest. One of his top men steps forward with a highly confidential report. They successfully bribed a servant working inside the Lin family estate. The source claims that after a recent accident, Lin Mo lost his entire memory. He has not even returned home since then. Hearing this, Mr. Wang acts. Elite forces are instantly ordered to bring the kid in, no matter what. The loyal guards bow in unison, ready to strike. The old man feels no fear, refusing to let the Lin family name protect a brat who crossed him. The next morning, Lin Mo wakes up completely unaware of the danger. Unaware that the hunt for him had already begun, Lin Mo arrived at his university like usual. He quickly noticed a heavy, tense vibe in the air, hinting at trouble. Suddenly, a suspicious-looking van cut him off, completely blocking his path. Within seconds, a pack of tough-looking thugs piled out of the vehicle. They were clearly hunting for him, their smirking leader stepping forward with attitude. He mockingly announced that their big boss wanted to invite Lin Mo over for a cup of tea. Lin Mo was completely caught off guard, having absolutely no clue who their boss was. The thugs did not appreciate him stalling, quickly losing their patience. They growled at him to get in the car unless he wanted a massive beating right here. Surprisingly, the young man agreed to go along, wanting to avoid another loud scene. Deep down, he knew the powerful Wang family was just itching for payback. Honestly, Lin Mo was not worried in the slightest about what lay ahead. He actually found this quite convenient. He was more than ready for a little action. Before long, the patriarch, Mr. Wang, received word that the target had finally arrived. Slowly blowing out a thick cloud of cigar smoke, the wealthy man gave the order. He commanded his loyal henchmen to drag the boy right up to his office. The guard bowed in silence, turning on his heel to carry out the master's wishes. Moments later, a sharp knock echoed on the door, and the boss called them inside. Lin Mo strolled in, closely surrounded by a heavy crowd of alert guards. Mr. Wang immediately asked if the young man realized what he had messed with. But Lin Mo just shrugged, acting completely clueless about the whole situation. The angry father offered a blunt hint, reminding him that Wang Dong was his son. Lin Mo mockingly asked if that bruised toddler had cried to his old man. The older man laughed out loud at the boy's absolute, fearless audacity. Nobody had ever dared to speak to a man of his high status like that before. He calmly explained that, out of respect, he would let Lin Mo walk away. But only after his guards thoroughly ripped the boy's tendons apart. Unfazed, the young martial artist stood his ground, completely unbothered by the threat. He calmly asked what would happen if he simply decided to refuse. A guard grabbed his shoulder, warning him not to make things any harder. Lin Mo hated touch. He fired a sudden, brutal elbow strike. He grabbed his arm, shutting him down completely. He coldly muttered that the adults were talking, so nobody should interrupt. With terrifying, raw physical power, he easily overpowered the seasoned fighter. Down he went, overthrown with effortless, shattering force. The man crashed down hard, completely splintering the wooden table underneath. Mr. Wang calmly noted that the kid had some pretty solid skills. Even so, he doubted Lin Mo could survive a coordinated attack from all his men at once. But wait, watch this, the young warrior only grinned, ready for anything. Unfazed, that calm smile completely set off the older man's rage. Losing his temper completely, he screamed at his guards to tear him to shreds. Lin Mo simply gestured for them all to rush him together to save some time. He dropped into a loose stance, ready to wrap this up as quickly as possible. His real focus was the boss sitting right in front of him. The mob of fighters lunged forward, but Lin Mo moved with masterful grace. He dropped every single opponent with one precise strike. In just 10 seconds, Lin Mo finished off the guards and calmly started adjusting his suit. Mr. Wang watched in absolute shock, having been completely confident. His own men, Lin Mo then offered to have a quiet chat in person, since the father and son had wasted far too much of his precious time today. That lost time needed some serious compensation. The old man was shaking in his boots. He admitted they were wrong and blurted out an offer of $20 million. Lin Mo was pretty hesitant to take cash that was definitely dirty. Seeing this, the terrified boss desperately claimed his money was totally clean. Lin Mo decided to give Mr. Wang the benefit of the doubt. Reaching into his jacket pocket, he pulled out his card and asked the boss to transfer the funds right away. The old man was eager to comply. But he claimed he needed a computer. Lin Mo allowed him to walk over to his desk, where Mr. Wang quickly typed in the details and announced that the transfer went through. He even showed proof that the cash was on our hero's card, inviting him to check. Lin Mo thanked him, unaware that the old man was secretly sliding his hand under the desk drawer. Mr. Wang kept his eyes locked tight on Lin Mo, telling him there was absolutely no rush, but he already had a gun gripped in his hand, mockingly offering to chat a bit longer. Seeing the barrel pointed right at him, Lin Mo went dead silent. The old man smirked, asking why he had stopped talking so suddenly. He pointed out how smug the kid had been, but now all that bravery was suddenly gone. Little did he know, Lin Mo was not scared at all. A small, smug grin returned to his face as he suddenly flipped the heavy desk right toward Mr. Wang to throw him off balance. The family head was not ready for this crazy move, and the weapon went flying from his grip. Our hero calmly asked if that stunt was worth it, telling him he just dug his own grave. Instantly, the terrified boss began stammering, claiming it was all a huge misunderstanding and that he genuinely just wanted to talk. Lin Mo knew right then that trust was completely off the table. He had absolutely no intention of playing nice. If he truly wanted to end the old man, he would do it this second. He warned him not to make him lose his temper. Mr. Wang begged him not to drag their families into a bloody war, promising to obey any order Lin Mo gave. This actually caught our hero's interest, giving him a perfect opportunity for some real payback. Moving like lightning, he suddenly grabbed Mr. Wang by the neck, ready to teach him a brutal lesson. The young man forced a mysterious white pill right down his throat, and the boss couldn't even fight back. Mr. Wang swallowed the pill in pure panic. He clutched his neck immediately, coughing and screaming at Lin Mo to know What he just forced down his throat, it was actually a deadly martial. Art's poison called Hanzion Budian. He promised an antidote. Every 3 months, as long as the old man stayed on his best behavior. Otherwise, a truly agonizing death awaited him. Time to choose his next moves very wisely. Just as our protagonist was about to head up to Mr. Wang's office, his phone rang. It was Tan Bei on the line, having already managed to shake off her partner. She urged Lin Mo to head straight to the base, since they had an urgent mission. The assignment was ready. Before long, Lin Mo arrived at the massive tower. He reached the Tang Long Corporation headquarters, where Tan Bei was eagerly waiting. A crowd of nervous employees filled the main lobby, whispering anxiously among themselves. It was clear that something massive had just gone down. Finding Tan Bei, Lin Mo immediately asked what happened. She quickly explained that their agency had just captured a mercenary. They grabbed a top mercenary commander, prompting his crew to take 20 hostages. They demand their boss's release, but things have completely spiraled out of control. But get this, they aren't just holding innocent people hostage. They are targeting the famous Pearl Tower next and must be stopped immediately. Lin Mo asked if they had a plan, and she laid it out. Their main focus is saving the victims and backing up the other squads. The young hero figured the two of them would head straight to the rescue. But Tan Bei explained they were severely short on manpower today. Otherwise, the organization would never rely on fresh recruits for this. His only task was to find the hostages and report their location back. At the same time, the chief of the special unit gathered everyone. He wanted to outline their next moves with total gravity in his voice. He stressed that this operation was absolutely critical, leaving no room for errors. There was no time to lose. He ordered the elite squad to move. Right on cue, our protagonist immediately set off to begin his search. He headed straight to the western district of Donghai City, moving fast. Lin Mo slipped across the rooftops silently, keeping his presence entirely hidden. But as he looked around, he got a very uneasy feeling about this area. The buildings around him seemed completely abandoned, yet his instincts screamed danger. Finally, Lin Mo decided to drop down from the ledge to get a much closer look. He pressed himself flat against a window frame to spy on what lay beyond the glass. A few soft lights glowed inside, but there was still no signs of life. And then the real truth finally clicked. The action wasn't up here. Our hero quietly approached a heavy metal hatch situated just a few steps away. His sharp senses told him the mercenaries had been hiding right under his feet. With a deep breath, Lin Mo slowly pried open the heavy hatch. Peering down into the darkness, he spotted a faint light, confirming his theory. A massive concrete staircase descended deep into the earth, leading right to them. Down below, an armed guard patrolled the entry, watching the shadows with vigilance. He kept his eyes peeled, making sure no intruders breached their perimeter. Suddenly, the patrolman caught the light sound of footsteps echoing behind him. Before he could even turn around, a pair of boots was flying toward him. Lin Mo expertly locked his legs around the man's throat in a chokehold. The startled guard tried to scream for backup, but it was already too late. Lin Mo squeezed his throat with vice-like power, cutting off his windpipe. The target gasped helplessly, completely pinned by the young man's deadly hold. Throat crushed, the enemy helplessly collapses to the ground, completely paralyzed. Lin Mo gracefully steps off, landing softly right beside his fallen foe. With quick hands, he starts stripping the uniform off his defeated opponent. He unbuckles straps and latches with expert speed, changing quickly. Now he looks just like any other guard, wearing their exact uniform. The gear fits perfectly, and with his mask on, Lin Mo wastes no time. He heads straight to the boss room, planning to report a fake emergency. Luring the target out is the plan, and right on cue, a massive giant appears. He steps through the door and demands to know what is going on. Lin Mo watches him closely, quickly trying to come up with a believable lie. But the leader is already reaching for his gun, smelling something fishy. He definitely suspects there is something wrong with this silent guard. Lin Mo reacts instantly, grabbing his hand before he can draw. This boss is no pushover, and he quickly shifts his weight to strike back. He drives a knee toward Lin Mo, but our hero anticipates the move. He intercepts the strike, countering with a heavy blow of his own. Bandit's leg fractures with a sickening crack under Lin Mo's incredible strength. He is far stronger than he looks, leaving the fighter screaming in agony. The man twists in unbearable pain and falls heavily to the floor. He clutches his shattered leg in agony, but still desperately grips his gun. The gang leader points the weapon straight at Lin Mo, trembling with fear. He demands to know who he is, keeping his weapon aimed forward. Lin Mo is completely unfazed by the threat and remains dead silent. Knowing he cannot let this thug recover, Lin Mo moves in again. He drives a brutal knee strike directly into his opponent's chest. In severe pain and badly injured, the bandit has no way to block it. His consciousness goes completely dark, and his limp body collapses to the floor. With the boss finally taken down, Lin Mo looks around the room. He realizes this is exactly where all the hostages are being held. But his gaze quickly locks onto two plain, unmarked bags in the corner. He walks over to the suspicious bags and unzips them. He needs to see what is hidden inside, and it is a massive jackpot. A literal mountain of cash is stuffed inside, shocking him completely. He cannot believe these bandits managed to hoard this much hard cash. An opportunist at heart, a brilliant new idea pops into his head. The hostages have no clue who he is, and honestly, can you blame him for what he does next? He zips the bags up, grabs the handles, and makes a run for it. But one of the female hostages is not happy about his escape. She suspects Lin Mo only took out the bandits to steal the cash. Luckily, she is incredibly sharp and spots a potential way out. She notices that Lin Mo left his discarded weapon sitting on the floor. This gun is her ticket to freedom, and she moves fast. Performing a quick, skillful roll, she grabs the gun instantly. The brave hostage points the weapon at Lin Mo, telling him to freeze. Lin Mo can only sigh heavily, realizing his easy escape is totally ruined. Just walk away that easily, he quickly explains he is not here to hurt the hostages and tells them they can go, but the female cop gets his point, but as a dedicated officer of the law, she simply cannot let a thief escape. She orders him to drop the heavy bags and lock his hands behind his head. Lin Mo does not even blink. He immediately offers to split the cash 50-50. Acting like they never crossed paths in this dark basement, but the cop still refuses to back down. Once again, she coldly repeats her order to drop the bags or get shot, and Lin Mo instantly knows she is not joking around. So he quickly dumps the cash bags straight onto the floor. Now the female officer turns to a nearby hostage, telling him to take off his leather belt to bind the thief's hands. At the same time, our guy quietly sits down on the ground, acting like he has completely given up, but obviously our hero is already cooking up a countermove, waiting for the perfect split second to strike. And with one sudden, lightning-fast move, he grabs the man trying to tie him up. In a fraction of a second, Lin Mo spins around with insane speed and repositions himself with terrifying precision, grabbing the innocent hostage to use as a human shield. He shoves the hostage forward, knocking the female officer clean off her feet. Without losing momentum, our skilled martial artist lunges at the disarmed officer to rip the pistol straight from her grip. He tells her she really did not have to force his hand, telling her to sit back in the corner and stay quiet. The officer knows she is beat, reluctantly obeying the order from Lin Mo, who just lets out a soft grunt. With the immediate threat cleared, our protagonist quickly grabs both heavy bags of cash and makes a desperate dash for the exit. But before he walks out of the enemy hideout, he strips off his disguise. Meanwhile, the unconscious security guard is still sprawled out completely cold, lying right at the entrance of the massive basement. A smug grin spreads across our hero's face. Completing his very first mission like this is honestly pretty crazy. Now our hero just needs to scout the entire compound and find a perfect spot to stash all this stolen wealth. Lin Mo dumps the heavy bags down a nearby well, which actually serves as an incredibly secure hiding spot. He plans to retrieve the cash once the dust settles. Immediately after, he calls Bei to report some highly suspicious activity going on deep inside the compound. It is not long before the dragon protectors arrive, quickly evacuating the hostages out of the bandit hideout. Among those rescued is the policewoman who previously tried to bust Lin Mo, remaining completely unaware that he is actually standing right next to her. Our hero quietly tells his partner that he is heading back to HQ to report the successful rescue, letting them greenlight the next phase of their operation. Bei is just relieved that everyone is safe and unharmed as they guide the victims onto the bus. So far, the entire rescue operation has gone off without a single hitch, but Bei watches the bus drive away, looking pretty deep in thought as she warns him that the mission is not over yet. The hostages mentioned seeing something Sketchy inside the hideout, Lin Mo feels a sudden chill and asks what exactly they saw. Turns out, the hostages already reported seeing two mysterious mercenaries tearing each other apart in a brutal, no-holds-barred fight, but by the time over here, two bodies already lay completely cold. The real issue, there was absolutely no loot. That stolen cash had completely vanished. Clearly, a total professional was behind this. Those elite mercenaries stood absolutely zero chance. They were completely and utterly outclassed. Completely shaken by the scene, she prepared to warn her superiors about this deadly outlaw master. Lin Mo, of course, knew the whole truth. He just smiled, keeping quiet. He calmly agreed a genius was here. With the search finished, they left. Our group headed straight back to their secret headquarters in order to file the official report. Lin Mo claimed he had personal business, quickly parting ways with Town Bay. Slipping out of the Dragon Defender headquarters, he rushed to the street to hail a cab. He hopped into the back. "Let us go," he quickly told the driver. "Take me to Pingjiang District, please." Soon they arrived at the spot. Sliding some cash over, Lin Mo asked the driver to wait while he quickly grabbed clothes. The driver happily agreed, giving him total freedom to do what he needed. To pass the time, the cabbie stepped out and lit up a cigarette. He puffed away very slowly. Just a few minutes later, our young passenger had finally returned. "Hey, pop open the trunk for me," Lin Mo requested. "I really need to load up." Completely oblivious to everything, the driver immediately pressed that trunk release button. It popped open right away. Without wasting a single second, our hero acted. He shoved two massive, heavy bags of cash right inside. The driver just watched him lazily. With a cigar in his mouth, the cabbie joked that those clothes must be something special. Lin Mo just chuckled. Honestly, who wouldn't be absolutely thrilled at this moment? After all, 10 million euros does that to you. Meanwhile, Mr. Wang waited. He was eagerly expecting his medical test results after swallowing that incredibly sketchy, unknown poison pill. His loyal assistant handed over the clinical report. There was no poison inside. The doctor certified him as completely clean. There were absolutely zero health issues. But his worried subordinate tried to mention a tiny catch. Mr. Wang immediately cut him off. He didn't want to hear another single word. "Get out," he snapped immediately. Fury completely consumed him. The harsh realization was finally starting to settle in. Lin Mo had scammed him completely. Suddenly, the sharp ringing of his phone cut right in. The sudden noise shattered his thoughts completely. Mr. Wang glared down at it. An unknown number flashed on the screen, casting a pretty cold, eerie glow. Snatching up the flashing device, Mr. Wang pressed it tightly to his ear with pure frustration. "Who is this?" he demanded coldly. "Who dares to disturb me right now?" But the calm voice on the other end belonged to the exact person he was considering. Yes, Lin Mo was calling him, and the kid had a massive surprise. He booked a private table at Wang Zhang's luxury restaurant, hoping they could chat in peace. Intrigued by the sudden proposal, Mr. Wang agreed immediately. He would go now. Yet his chest tightened up. He just couldn't shake off this sudden feeling of pure unease. What did this kid actually want? The mystery was totally driving him crazy. Upon his arrival, our hero smiled. "Well, you certainly got here pretty fast." Mr. Wang nodded with a polite smile. "I wouldn't dream of keeping you waiting," he replied. He was deeply eager to find out what Lin Mo wanted from him. The young man chuckled softly, turning his gaze toward the nearby window instead. He quickly brushed off the flattery, steering their conversation straight to some very serious business instead. Surely, Mr. Wang was already extremely aware of the Lin family crisis. Lin Mo pours a glass of wine, hinting that only a capable man can pull this off. Hearing this, the old man suddenly perks up and eagerly asks him to elaborate. Lin Mo lays out his situation, explaining that he currently has a lot of cash. But he cannot easily use it. He knows Wang Dong is a shrewd businessman. He could become a highly valuable partner if he pitches this deal the right way. Fortunately, the pitch works. The old man immediately catches onto Lin Mo's plan. He chuckles, admitting he lacks other skills, but business is where he shines. With a sharp grin, he asks exactly how much cash Lin Mo has. Lin Mo confidently drops the bomb, revealing he has 20 million euros on hand. But Wang Dong must somehow multiply that sum, turning it into a massive fortune. That is child's play for the veteran businessman, so he tells Lin Mo to trust him. Lin Mo raises his glass, mentioning he still needs to visit an old friend first. Wang Dong clinks his glass in return, gladly agreeing to the arrangement. With their deal sealed, Lin Mo heads back to his temporary college dorm. The tiny hostel room had served as his main base for a while. As his roommates prepare for class, he quietly opens his laptop to search. But with so many nosy eyes around, this dorm is far from ideal. It makes cultivating his powers impossible, so finding a private rental is his priority. Scanning through housing sites, a promising listing suddenly catches his eye. He decides right then and there to go inspect the place in person. Before long, he arrives at the location, and the neighborhood looks remarkably peaceful. The quiet streets and tidy yards make a great first impression. Standing right outside the front door, he hopes the landlord is easy to deal with. Pushing his nervousness aside, Lin Mo reaches out to make his move. He rings the doorbell, and a loud chime echoes deep inside the house. A faint voice calls out from inside, telling him to wait just a moment. Moments later, a young boy opens the door, looking quite curious. He asks who Lin Mo is looking for, catching our hero slightly off guard. Recovering quickly, he explains he saw an online ad about a room for rent. The boy suddenly realizes why this unexpected guest has showed up on their doorstep. Lin Mo nods to confirm, immediately asking about the monthly rent. Not wanting to discuss business on the street, the landlord gestures inside. He invites Lin Mo to step in, look around, and then talk prices. With no objections, Lin Mo slips on some guest slippers and steps inside. Following him down the hall, Lin Mo realizes they have not even introduced themselves. The young landlord speaks up first, introducing himself as Manhwa. Lin Mo calmly replies with his own name, keeping things polite. Manhwa quickly warns him that 2 other tenants already live upstairs. That means only one single room is left, which he gladly shows him. He explains the rent is $1,200 a month, paid up front for the year. That means paying a massive chunk up front, so our hero is in no rush to sign. $1,200 for a tiny room feels like a total ripoff. Manhwa does not seem desperate to sell, instantly pointing out cheaper options nearby. He says there are cheaper places nearby that cost just a few hundred. Suddenly, a voice echoes from the door, calling him just another cheapskate. Had arrived even though Mangan did not actually need the cash. Suddenly, she turned out to be a university professor who recognized her student on the spot. Right then, it seemed like the main character did not expect to run into her either. Mangan stood there totally baffled, starting to realize these two actually knew each other. Song Lionju quickly confirmed his suspicion with a warm smile, explaining that this guy was her student. Meanwhile, Lin Mo started feeling hesitant because he realized it would be tough to get anything done with Miss Song watching. He decided to claim the rent was simply too expensive for him and declared he would look for other apartments without even apologizing to Mangan for wasting his time. Meanwhile, Song Lionju was deeply confused that someone with his family's vast wealth could not afford this place. She immediately suspected that some disaster had befallen her student's family. Fortunately, our main character still managed to secure a brand new apartment. Even though Western layouts were not his favorite, he did not waste any time overthinking and locked in the deal right away. Picking the most practical choice for his current situation, the neighborhood was quiet and peaceful, making it the perfect spot for cultivation. Lin Mo stepped inside to explore the space and noticed the kitchen was actually pretty decent. He realized it had been ages since he last prepared his own meals, making this a perfect chance. Just minutes later, he was already busy whipping up a highly appetizing dinner, sending mouthwatering aromas drifting all through his brand new home. His cooking skills were top tier, but the cheap grocery store ingredients were just awful, so ordering premium items online was the only way to go. He whipped out his phone right away to search for special herbs to elevate his culinary game. Suddenly, he spotted something online that caught his eye far more than simple seasonings. Lin Mo never expected to stumble upon a rare spiritual ginseng across the web, and he was absolutely certain that this spiritual root was perfect for his cultivation. Purchasing it instantly without a second thought, he saw that the seller was located far away in Nangu, but distance was absolutely nothing when chasing such an invaluable treasure. Determined to get it, our young cultivator ended up booking a flight to meet the seller. He couldn't help but think about his very first time flying and wondered what the whole experience would feel like. During the trip, he suddenly remembered his ticket and reached into his pocket to double-check his seat number, since he already had a digital ticket on his phone. Pulling up his boarding details was an absolute breeze. He was relieved that the bank's massive corporate backing handled all these flight arrangements so seamlessly. Meanwhile, a girl named Li Yun from the prestigious Haiyu Corporation was already sitting on the plane as other passengers finally started boarding and filling the cabin with a low, steady hum. Suddenly she was stunned to see a brand new passenger boarding the flight, someone she absolutely never expected to cross paths with. She was fully convinced that the entire aircraft was privately reserved for her company alone, but she was wrong. An employee quietly explained that the airline had requested a single extra seat for an extremely important VIP. Li Yun still had no idea who this was, but she chose not to dispute the decision. She had absolutely no clue just how powerful our main character truly was. As for Lin Mo, he decided to play. He wanted to be friendly, greeting the other passengers with a bright smile on his face. Then he sat in his reserved seat and checked out the touchscreen functions of the built-in screen. The quiet girl beside him kept analyzing his every move, scrutinizing the look and behavior of her unexpected guest. Soon, her coworker offered to complain to the airline if this guy bothered the supervisor, but she was totally fine with it and quietly waved off the concern. Lo Yun mockingly noted that compared to other wealthy VIPs, this guy actually had something pretty interesting about him. Before long, their flight arrived safely at its final destination and touched down. The very first passenger to step off the plane was Lin Mo, who wanted to handle his business as quickly as possible. The girl was stunned and slightly annoyed that he just left without saying a single word. Her assistant wanted to give Lo Yun some quick advice, but he did not even have time to finish his sentence. She quickly replied that it was unnecessary as she was used to this. Meanwhile, the big auction for that rare, mysterious plant was already starting to get into full swing. The presenter began talking about how the item had been analyzed by a top botanist and evaluated by professionals, officially confirming its unique properties. Because of this, the starting price for the item was $15,000. Lin Mo found this amount quite funny, thinking they had absolutely no idea of the ginseng's true worth. Soon, the eager bidders started calling out offers, and trust me, things are heating up as bids hit $22,000. Lin Mo did not hesitate, immediately bidding a massive $44,000. To wrap this up, the presenter grew incredibly excited hearing such a massive amount, eagerly asking the room for any other offers. He then began counting down from 3, finally striking his gavel to seal the deal. He happily announced that the rare plant had been officially sold to our young protagonist. Lin Mo was highly satisfied with his successful purchase. Quickly collecting the goods before heading out of the auction hall, he also hoped his newly acquired bronze cauldron would be delivered by the time he returned. Meanwhile, Lo Yun arrived at a lavish dinner party filled with wealthy elites. Standing right beside her was Ms. Li's assistant, whom she quietly beckoned closer. The heiress handed her subordinate a glass of wine and asked her to hold it. The assistant was shocked since the banquet was far from over, yet Lo Yun was already preparing to slip away. She simply explained that she just wanted some fresh air, leaving the rest of the night to Ms. Li. Getting into her car, she smiled, celebrating her temporary freedom. But deep down, she knew this freedom was nothing more than an illusion, far from 100% real. Her bodyguards were still closely trailing her, knowing they were only there for her protection. Still, having 5 elite guards felt like total overkill, but a clever plan suddenly formed in her mind. A sly, mischievous grin spread across her face. It was time to lose these guards once and for all. Grinning, she slammed her foot on the gas pedal. The trailing bodyguards immediately realized exactly what their mischievous target was doing and gave chase. The engines roared to life as they sped after her, desperately trying to catch up with the wild and rebellious Lo Yun. Lu Baiyun soon realized her clever plan had completely failed. Driving a bit further down the road, she was suddenly forced to stop at a red light. Desperate, Lu Baiyun ignored the traffic laws and whipped the wheel right. One eager pursuer tried to chase her, but his partner refused to run the red light. From her rearview mirror, Lu Baiyun happily watched the security guards get left behind. Seeing she had successfully lost them, she let out a dark, satisfied laugh. Now safe, she wanted to contact her bodyguards so they would not worry. She was so distracted that she missed the looming danger. Right out of nowhere, the shadow of a bizarre crossdresser appeared directly in front of her. Reacting on pure instinct, Lu Baiyun slammed her foot onto the brake. At that exact second, a blinding streak of bright light whipped directly past her face. The sudden glare temporarily blinded her, forcing her to instinctively recoil in shock. A sniper bullet shattered her side window, punching a clean hole through the glass and raining shrapnel. Sharp shards of glass rained down inside, leaving her absolutely terrified. Hearing the terrifying sound of a gunshot, she immediately suspected the bizarre stranger who blocked her. Warm blood trickled down her cheek, where the bullet had barely grazed her. Seriously, if she had not slammed those brakes, her story would have ended right here. Knowing these killers were specifically targeting her, Lu Bai-yun had to find shelter. She abandoned her car and fled on foot, desperately seeking a safe place to hide. Darting down a dim, narrow alley, she ran through the empty streets. Her panicked footsteps echoed loudly against the cold, towering brick walls. She prayed this quiet, empty labyrinth would keep her hidden from her deadly pursuers. But then a sudden set of footsteps echoed right behind her back. Lu Bai-yun froze in pure terror, but soon realized the stranger was walking quite calmly. Relief washed over her when she recognized the casual walker as none other than Lin Mo. It was him, the mysterious guy she met on the plane. There was absolutely no way she could ever mistake his presence. She lunged forward, grabbing his hand. "Please wait." Lin Mo turned around in surprise, staring at her in complete and absolute confusion. He calmly asked what she wanted, but she was too panicked to speak. Mischievous as always, he playfully teased her by asking if she was selling her services. Hearing him suggest such a shameless thing left Lu Bai-yun completely speechless. A sudden wave of intense heat and embarrassment flushed all over her face. She could not believe the sheer absurdity of the ridiculous situation they were now in. As Lin Mo turned to walk away, she desperately called out. She begged him to hold on, making him stop in his tracks in mild confusion. He raised an eyebrow, his quiet stare practically asking what her deal was. Embarrassed, Lu Bai-yun quietly explained her situation. Hearing this, Lin Mo realized the danger and agreed to keep her safe. He decided to escort the terrified girl directly to the nearest local police station. It did not take long for them to reach the secure building. Standing outside the station, Lin Mo urged her to hurry up inside. He knew staying out in the open was practically begging for another deadly sniper attack. She offered no response, simply staying close to him in complete silence. Yet Lin Mo noticed something very strange about her quiet compliance. She won't stop. He turns around and glares, completely annoyed. What now? He demands to know what her problem is this time. She is stunned. This guy genuinely has no clue who she is. He forgot her completely, but Lin Mo sees no issue. He has zero time for this. He is ready to leave immediately. She stands frozen. The rich beauty is utterly shocked by his coldness. Is he acting? She suspects he is just trying to run away. The attack was weird. She knows she cannot involve the police yet. It is too risky. Instead, she will let her family handle this. Why is he running? She still wants to know his deal. He honestly forgot her face. That is why he wants her gone. But Leon won't give up. She has no intention of losing him. Time to play weak. She pretends to be starving and completely broke. She looks up pitifully, hoping he will step up and help. Honestly, you have to admire her dedication. She just refuses to back down. He stops, sighing. He tells her to go home or find help. It is way too dangerous for her to wander around at night. With no options, Lin Mo starts heading toward his rented place. Leon happily tags along, thinking they are finding a nice restaurant. He chuckles with a smile. He explains they are heading to his house. He will protect her tonight and cook up a simple warm meal. He is safe. She knows that now, even if this is weird. She has nowhere else to go. She keeps following him inside. Stepping through the front door, she quietly looks around his place. Not bad. Lin Mo actually has surprisingly good taste in decor. He pulls out a chair and sits his silent guest down. She feels so awkward, but Lin Mo suddenly spots a problem. Her ankles are severely swollen, though she never uttered a complaint. He definitely cannot let her stay in this agonizing state, so he gently tells Leon to wait right there. She watches him walk off, wondering what he is going to do. She is stunned. He returns holding a giant basin of warm water. It is the perfect remedy to soothe her aching, swollen feet. Leon feels extremely shy but does not refuse him. She slowly slides her tired feet into the soothing warm water. No names yet, she smiles softly and finally introduces herself to him. He nods. Our main character introduces himself simply as Lin Mo. He asks the young girl to just relax here for a bit while he goes to the kitchen. She relaxes, realizing he truly views her as just an ordinary girl. Having someone so wonderfully oblivious care for her feels amazingly peaceful. Moments later, Lin Mo notices her staring greedily at the plates. It is pretty obvious she is absolutely starving by this point. Caught red-handed, she blushes and tries to make a quick excuse. But Lin Mo does not judge her, offering a warm smile instead. He hands her some slippers and invites her over to the table. Leon is deeply touched by how incredibly kind and caring he is. Slippers for her. As they sit down at the table, Lin Mo explains that he just whipped up whatever came to mind first, hoping his guest would actually enjoy the simple meal. Luo Bingyan is absolutely thrilled to see such a generous spread. It looks amazing. She cannot wait to dig in. Hearing her praise makes Lin Mo smile, and he gladly tells her to eat as much as she wants. Looking at him, Luo Bingyan senses a perfect opening. He has to know, does he truly not recognize her? The young cultivator lets out a heavy sigh. Honestly, he really has no idea where they could have crossed paths, so she offers a tiny hint, pointing out that it all happened back on a flight to Nangu City. Suddenly, the image of that gorgeous fellow passenger flashes in his mind. It is her. Luo Bingyan just chuckles at how incredibly forgetful he is, teasing that she really has not changed that much since their flight. But Lin Mo doesn't dwell on it. Instead, he asks why those thugs were tracking her. She suspects some ugly workplace drama is behind all of this, though. She is pretty much used to dealing with such nasty business. Lin Mo instantly pieced the puzzle together. There is no need to pry further. So he gently tells Luo Bingyan to finish eating so they can treat her injured leg. Gladly dropping the heavy topic, she focuses back on her dinner. Once they finish up, it is straight to the medical check. Lin Mo kneels down to examine her leg, giving her a quiet warning. She needs to brace herself because this is going to sting quite a bit. His fingers gently press against the spot where she was kicked. A nasty dark purple bruise has already formed. Luo Bingyan instantly blushes from the sheer intimacy of it all. They are basically strangers after all. Luckily, it is only a severe sprain, so her health is not in any real danger. But leaving a joint injury like this completely untreated is a recipe for serious disaster. If neglected, Luo Bingyan might end up limping permanently. Lin Mo wants to help, but warns her that the process will hurt like hell. She nods, prepared to endure whatever pain comes, and he begins. Almost immediately, she is completely stunned. There is absolutely no pain. She genuinely wonders if he is some kind of professional doctor. He looks like a simple student, yet his medical skills are purely legendary. Once the treatment is done, she asks to use Lin Mo's shower. Going back home looking like this is simply out of the question. He has no problem helping Luo Bingyan and tells her to wait just a moment. He even offers to fetch her some clean clothes. Heading over to his bedroom, Lin Mo returns with some fresh garments and explains that since he lives completely alone, there are no women's clothes here. Even so, Luo Bingyan is extremely grateful. She really did not expect such incredible kindness and warmly thanks Lin Mo for his help. Right after she heads into the bathroom, he thoughtfully places a pair of dry slippers right outside the door so she will not slip. With his guest fully taken care of, our hero can finally focus on his own affairs. Sinking into the sofa, he takes out that rare spiritual ginseng he cleverly snatched from the high-stakes auction. It is finally time to plan his next move. In the end, he comes to a quiet conclusion. It is about time he figured out this artifact. His deep thoughts are suddenly cut short by a persistent knock at the door. There stands Lu Bian, looking incredibly refreshed and beautiful after taking a warm, relaxing shower and changing into clean clothes. Finding her in his bedroom leaves the guy stunned, never expecting his oversized, baggy clothes to fit her slender frame so perfectly and look so good. Girl lets out an embarrassed laugh, then asks about the item sitting on the table. Lin Mo simply explains that it is just a rare medicinal herb that he needs to brew some special medicine. This explanation completely blindsides Lu Bian because she simply cannot fathom why a healthy, young guy like him would need medicine. So Lin Mo tells a quick white lie, claiming he has been incredibly sickly ever since childhood, forcing him to take various remedies. Hearing this, she instantly wants to help, mentioning she knows some excellent doctors he should really think about consulting. But Lin Mo politely declines, explaining traditional medicine is make things even worse, and Western medicine would be absolutely useless. Noticing how late it is, he suggests that Lu Bian stay over for The night, since walking home completely alone so late at night, is far too dangerous for her. She gladly accepts, heading straight to the guest room, advising Lin Mo to turn in early as well to get a truly wonderful and relaxing night of sleep. Smiling, our hero turns toward her bedroom door and softly wishes her a peaceful good night. The next morning, both of them wake up incredibly bright and early to start their busy days. Our hero rolls out of bed and quickly gets ready to head out, but he suddenly notices two neat, clean pairs of slippers resting right by the front door. He stands there a bit confused, surprised she slipped away so early, leaving him so suddenly and at such a crazy early hour. But then he smells something wonderful and immediately follows his nose inside to investigate. On the dining table sits a freshly prepared, luxurious breakfast that looks anything but cheap. Talk about an awesome morning surprise. Leaning in closer, Lin Mo notices that there is something special tucked underneath one of the plates. A small handwritten note tucked neatly under one of the plates. It turns out Lu Bian left her number, explaining she had urgent business. Leave so incredibly early, but she still really wanted to thank him for helping her out. By whipping up this lovely, delicious breakfast, Lin Mo quickly pulls up a wooden chair at the table to enjoy her efforts, voicing a soft thank you to the empty room. Even though he is dining completely solo in his room, he cuts a small piece of food, spears it with his fork, and happily pops it into his mouth. Honestly, Lin Mo had no idea this home-cooked meal would turn out to be so incredibly delicious, having absolutely no clue his new female friend possessed such legendary elite culinary skills. Once finished, he decides to brew the medicine. He pulls out a heavy, ancient cauldron from one of his storage cabinets, which is perfectly suited for brewing. After tossing his raw ingredients inside, Lin Mo places the pot on the stove and brings the water inside to a very rapid boil. Next, he drops in the precious ginseng root, completing his healing recipe as the final crucial ingredient. Meanwhile, scene shifts to Manhattan. News of the recent kidnapping attempt on Lu Bian has already landed. Her father is absolutely furious that his useless staff failed to protect her. Bodyguards bow deeply, apologetically explaining that the enemy was simply it was all their fault, but the subordinates had already tracked down both the killer and the mastermind behind the attack. One guard reached into the envelope to peek at the files inside. In truth, the boss was far more curious about who helped Liu Yun escape her pursuers. The bodyguards had already gathered all the data on this mysterious savior. They quickly searched for the file containing his background. The boss was not even slightly surprised when he read the name Lin Mo from the Dong Hai Lin family, but what really shocked him was that this young man had actually died, only to somehow return to life. The guards explained that this unbelievable report came straight from the hospital. Apparently, it was just a physical reaction to a temporary organ shutdown, but the weirdest part, right when he woke up, his height shot up and his physical appearance completely changed. Even crazier, his personality became completely unrecognizable. The guard also added that the doctors are calling it a medical miracle, the first of its kind in modern history. The guard guessed these sudden changes in the boy's looks and behavior might just be due to severe amnesia. The old man began to ponder Lin Mo's true nature. Curious, he asked about his daughter's connection to him. The bodyguard replied that they met 5 days ago on a plane to Nanhai City and crossed paths again on the day she was attacked. For all intents and purposes, they are now friends. Hearing this, the father relaxed slightly, relieved that Liu Yun was safe. But he sternly warned them that he never wants to hear about her being in danger again. Receiving their marching orders, the guards bowed and filed out of the room. The old man sat alone in silence, holding the papers on our mysterious hero and wondering who he truly was. Meanwhile, as evening shadows stretched across Lin Mo's home, where things were starting to unfold, he was still busy refining his special medicine, and the young man carefully lifted the lid to check on his progress. At last he saw that the recipe was a success and everything was ready. He quickly poured the liquid into a shallow bowl, where it immediately began to harden. He then began rolling the paste into small, round pills. He could have used his kai to speed up the process, but he barely had enough for basic tasks. Still, from this single batch, he managed to yield a decent amount of pills. Finally, it was time to test his creation. Popping one into his mouth, the young man immediately felt a strange sensation surging through his veins. The medicinal effect was admittedly a bit weak, But having so many pills would easily make up for the low quality. Lin Mo knew that gathering natural kai in this world was going to be tough, but with enough money, absolutely nothing could stop him from rising to the top. The next morning, he headed off to the university as if nothing had happened. Sitting right next to him, Tom Bay immediately noticed that the young man was completely glued to his phone. Curious, she immediately asked what was keeping him so busy. Turns out he was just checking his test results from the last exam. Peeking at his score, she pointed out that his grades had skyrocketed since his little trip to the hospital. She was actually ready to throw herself off the balcony too, which was obviously a terrible idea. So no one was going to advise her to go to such extremes just for a simple test. Meanwhile, a classmate pointed out that after this whole wild scene, everyone is gossiping about how lucky Lin Mo is. This made Dutcha Yu incredibly annoyed. Since all the spotlight was on her ex-fiancé, she quickly begged her friends to ignore the rumors completely, but her sneaky friend was quick to point out that on paper he was still her fiancé, hinting they could deal with this. Tang Bei girl he kept hanging around, but she continued to pretend she did not care about the documents, claiming she had no intention of wasting energy on some guy like Lin Mo. But wait, a gorgeous rich girl in a flashy sports car just arrived. Stopping right outside the university, she was looking for Lin Mo, and Lu Yun was extremely determined, stepping out of the ride and heading straight for the main doors. Classmates immediately let him know that a mysterious girl was looking for him. Lin Mo understood the second he saw her standing there, right in front of him, greeting his gorgeous acquaintance with a surprised smile. She flashed a wide smile, laughing about how he clearly never expected to see her there. It was completely true, and he was left thoroughly confused. He asked how Lu Yun even knew his school. She explained that someone had called her up, so she did not even have to search for her savior. Lin Mo rubbed his neck, apologizing for being so incredibly busy lately. In truth, he had just forgotten about Lu Yun. Naturally, she suspected something since he did not look busy at all while chatting with his female friend. Lin Mo kept his cool and quickly explained they were just talking about their class, but Lu Yun did not care about that, because she was here to treat him to a fancy dinner on her dime. He politely declined, explaining that he had a very important family matter. Today was his grandfather's 80th birthday, and he had to be home on time. Hearing this, she immediately figured there would be a big celebration and insisted on joining him. Lin Mo tried to explain that it was a terrible idea because his family was full of eccentric oddballs, making him worry she would be uncomfortable, but she did not care at all, fully confident that she could handle whatever they threw at her. Finally, realizing he could not win this argument, Lin Mo relented. He told her he had one last class left, then they could leave. Together, Lu Yun finally prepared to leave the area, asking him to drop her a line when he was free. Lin Mo looked around, hoping that nobody had paid any attention to their little chat. But he was dead wrong, because you can bet every single classmate in the room was already gossiping about him having such a gorgeous, wealthy girlfriend. Realizing the situation was getting out of hand, he knew he had to escape the classroom immediately to avoid their endless barrage of nosy questions. He slipped away toward the vending machines to grab a quick snack, to calm his nerves, relieved that he had managed to slip away. Otherwise, explaining all of this would have been a total nightmare. Suddenly, Tang Bei materialized right behind his back, looking annoyed that he had ditched her. Not a single word. Actually, Lin Mo had absolutely nothing to say because he had only met this girl twice, making them mere acquaintances. He explained that the first time he and Lu Bian met was on a flight, and they did not even speak, and the second time he ran into her in a dark alley nearby and saved her from some killers. Tang Bei did not believe a single word of his story at all because it sounded way too suspicious for a rich girl to show up in person after just 2 meetings. She teased that Lu Bian could always repay her savior by marrying him, but Lin Mo quickly shot that down since she came from an elite family, making that impossible. But Tang Bei still could not find any other reason for a girl like that to track him down at school and act so incredibly close. Meanwhile, Lin Mo could not understand why Tang Bei cared so much about a mere acquaintance. At this, Tang Bei blushed instantly, quickly trying to stammer out an explanation that she was only worried about Lin Mo, fearing that gorgeous girl might be deceiving him. But Lin Mo was quick to assure her, emphasizing that he Was no naive child who could be so easily tricked. He then suggested they head back to the classroom since their next lecture was about to begin. Tang Bei was deeply annoyed that Lin Mo was clearly trying to run away from her questions, leaving her without a straight answer. Meanwhile, their classmates were still busy gossiping about the mysterious spectacle from earlier. Over in another corner, Du Xiaoyu's friend still could not believe that wealthy girl boldly approached Lin Mo, declaring that she would be attending his grandfather's upcoming birthday party, which seemed incredibly forward. Yet Du Xiaoyu kept her cool because she did not want to betray any lingering feelings for her ex-fiancé, her friend. However, could not believe she was not going to lift a finger while another girl was visiting Lin Mo's home, but Du Xiaoyu remained completely indifferent because now she wanted nothing to do with him, and besides, their families were already planning to call off the engagement anyway. Still, her friends felt it was a massive slap in the girl's face since their breakup was not even official yet. In the end, Du Xiaoyu simply told her friends to drop it, pointing out that their teacher would arrive any minute. Once class finally ended, the students rushed out of the campus, eager to relax after a long day of lectures, but no sooner had Lin Mo stepped outside the school gates than a loud car horn sounded nearby. It was Lu Bian, who had planned to pick up the young man in her luxury ride. From the start, waiting patiently right by the exit, she then asked if he fancied the car, suggesting that he should be the one to take the wheel. Lin Mo did not mind driving such a sweet ride, so he gladly agreed. After all, the wealthy heiress had no idea how to navigate her way to his house. Slipping into the driver's seat, Lin Mo instantly stomped on the gas and the engine roared as they shot forward. Meanwhile, Lu Bian suddenly bent forward, carefully inspecting something on her leg. Turned out she was massaging the exact ankle she had injured the night they met. Lin Mo noticed her discomfort right away and immediately asked if her old injury was acting up, but Lu Bian softly reassured him that she was completely fine, claiming it was only a minor ache from wearing high heels. Lin Mo offered her a pair of flats, but she refused on the spot. High heels made her outfits look prettier and her legs look way longer. He seriously could not comprehend why girls would torture themselves just for beauty. Feeling a bit self-conscious, Luo Yun explained that she usually did not dress like this. These heels were reserved strictly for special days, like today, but he completely missed the hint. His face remained completely blank, giving her zero reaction to her subtle advances. Soon enough, they arrived at 7 Ling Mansion, the site of the grand gathering. The entire family had already gathered inside to celebrate grandfather's birthday. Butler was absolutely thrilled to see young Master Lin Mo finally return home. Lin Mo gave him a quick, polite nod, but offered no explanation about his gorgeous companion. Left completely in the dark, a very confused Uncle Chung had to ask who she was. Lin Mo finally introduced her as Luo Yun, a close friend he brought along. He wanted her to accompany him to his grandfather's milestone birthday celebration. Butler raised no objections and warmly welcomed Luo Yun into the family mansion. However, Lin Mo hesitated to step inside as dark memories suddenly began to flood back. His mind raced back to the terrifying events of his last visit to this house. He stared up at the high balcony he had mysteriously plunged from back then. That fatal fall landed him in the hospital, triggering his legendary cultivation transformation. Luo Yun immediately sensed that Lin Mo was acting incredibly strange. She softly asked if he was all right, but he just offered a reassuring smile. He brushed it off, urging her inside where a massive, lively crowd awaited them. Guests gossiped and laughed as Luo Yun confidently strode through the grand hall. She quietly whispered to him that his family home was surprisingly massive. Nearby, the scheming relatives quickly spotted Lin Mo, shocked to see he brought a guest. They stared at her, trying to place her familiar, high-society face. Whispers spread like wildfire as guests recognized her as the powerful head of the Luo family. His uncle tensed up, realizing the titans behind Heyu Corp were now standing in his lobby. He could not comprehend how his useless nephew had managed to net such an elite connection. To make things even wilder, Lin Mo's ex-fiancée Du Chaiyui was in the crowd, frozen in shock. She stared, completely dumbfounded that her former fiancé was standing right next to Luo Yun. The plotting relatives immediately panicked at the sight of his alliance with the Luo family. They realized their dirty schemes to ruin him were about to go down the drain. Their evil schemes were completely ruined now that these corporate giants were backing him. Breaking the tense silence, his aunt stepped forward, faking a warm, welcoming smile. She immediately put him on the spot, loudly asking why he arrived so late. Lin Mo calmly explained that he had to rush over right after his college class ended. Ignoring his response, she eagerly turned her attention to the prestigious guest beside him. She showered Luo Yun with praise, never expecting the elite heiress to actually show up. She gushed over her attendance at the 80th birthday, leaving Luo Yun quite embarrassed. She quickly clarified that she was not visiting as the official head of Heyu Corp. She was simply there as Lin Mo's plus one. His aunt instantly seized the opportunity. She chirped that the family was honored to have her, regardless of her reasons. Lin Mo cut through the fake flattery, asking where his grandfather had gone. His aunt smirked, assuming his traumatic head injury had wiped his memory clean. She sneered, reminding him that the old man suffered from severe Alzheimer's disease. Because of this, the family head could no longer attend these events. In any case, the young man headed straight to his grandfather. He just walked away. He walked right past the guests. Lu Bun followed. Downstairs, one brother wondered if their sister had found anything out from the daughter of the owner. Of how a corp auntie thought the girl was far too clever, so getting any real answers from her was impossible. The brother then asked what she even had to do with their nephew, his sister. Was clueless. Still, she was absolutely sure they were not dating. Meanwhile, Lin Mo had already slipped into the room of his grandfather and softly announced he was home. The old family head was too weak, even needing help just to eat. The blank gaze of his grandfather stared ahead, and he mechanically opened his mouth to be fed. Suddenly, he jerked. He grabbed the hand of the servant, refusing more food. Only now did the maid look up and see young Master Lin Mo, leaving her totally confused. Lin Mo calmly released her hand, explaining he only wanted to talk with his grandfather. The worker understood perfectly, heading straight for the exit, and she quickly left. Lin Mo knelt down right in front of the old man, softly wishing him a happy birthday, holding the elderly frail hands. He asked if he remembered his grandson, hoping to find a single spark of recognition. With immense effort, Grandpa actually remembered his favorite grandson. Lin Mo was indeed standing right there. At this moment, Lu Bun stepped forward, smiling as she wished Mr. Lin a very long life, joking he would outlast the southern mountains. Lin Mo chuckled and introduced her as a friend who came along to help celebrate the birthday of his grandfather. Grandpa still seemed lost in his own world, saying nothing and only nodding back with a faint smile. He suddenly gripped the hand of his grandson tightly, remaining silent. Lin Mo knew exactly what the situation was, so he just kept watching the old man. Suddenly, a maid rushed into the room and told the young master that the party was starting and Du Xiaoyu was waiting downstairs for him. Hearing that name left our hero quite surprised, so he quickly hurried down to see what was happening. Leaving his grandfather with the servant, he headed out into the main hall where his so-called fiancée was waiting, looking thoroughly annoyed by his long absence. Lin Mo finally pulled her aside, directly asking what she wanted. Here of all places, apparently the grandfather of Du Xiaoyu asked her to attend the party and deliver a special family gift. She gestured to her assistant, who held up an incredibly valuable-looking vase while she briefly introduced this grand offering from the Du family. It was an authentic flower-painted masterpiece from the reign of Chinese Emperor Yongjun. Every single guest instantly spotted this rare treasure, whispering about how incredibly influential Elder Du must be, since a gift like that was worth tens of millions of dollars. Our hero thanked her family for their immense generosity, but politely refused the vase, calling it far too expensive for them to accept. Du Xiaoyu irritably snapped that she was still his fiancée, making a grand gesture like this completely normal. Lin Mo wondered if Du Xiaoyu had fallen off a balcony too. Why else was she suddenly talking about their engagement with such absolute seriousness? The girl immediately made sure to emphasize that their families had planned this union, meaning it was still very much official. Right then, he realized he had made a massive mistake by not calling off the whole thing sooner. Doing so would have saved her the trouble of showing up today. Naturally, the guests were completely stunned. They immediately started whispering about who could have initiated the split. They knew it was not the grandfather, since old man Lin was currently struggling with severe Alzheimer's. Suddenly, his aunt intervened, demanding to know what was going on and why they wanted a split. Lin Mo calmly explained that his beautiful fiancée believed he was just not good enough for her. She had repeatedly begged him to call it off. Sure, her own grandfather would probably hate to hear that, but Lin Mo was more than willing to pay him a personal visit. Du Jiayu was visibly tense, but quietly agreed to let him handle it. Just then Luo Yun stepped forward, announcing she brought a gift too. Hoping the elderly man would appreciate it, Lin Mo immediately spoke up, insisting that she really did not need to spend any money. He gently lifted the plain wooden box, completely unaware of its contents. Luo Yun watched him closely. She eagerly waited to see his genuine reaction to the birthday present she had chosen so carefully for his grandfather. Finally, Lin Mo slid open the smooth wooden lid, revealing a stunning green ring inside. It gleamed under the light, with his sharp, highly trained eye for treasures. He recognized its exceptional quality instantly. Luo Yun still chose to introduce it anyway, explaining that it was carved from the finest quality imperial jade. Du Jiayu sneered that while the stone looked pretty good, there was simply no way to prove this ring was even real. Luo Yun was quietly impressed by her rival's surprisingly sharp eye for spotting high-quality jade so easily. She confidently knew the gift was real, since nobody would dare deceive the powerful Luo family. Du Jiayu decided to drop the subject and congratulate Lin Mo's grandfather on receiving such an incredible birthday present. Our hero, despite the thick tension, smiled and thanked her. He then graciously accepted the grand gift from Du Jiayu's family on behalf of his grandfather, while warning that their next meeting would be to officially end the engagement to stop wasting her time. Du Jiayu was visibly irritated by his blunt words, her lips pressing into a tight line as she gave a brief nod. She clearly wanted this embarrassing chatter to end. Then Aunt Rong intervened, unable to understand how her nephew could make these decisions all on his own. Lin Mo calmly explained that a forced relationship never works out. Calling off the engagement now saves everyone time. Aunt Rong saw the pure resolve in his eyes and realized he was completely serious, so she finally backed off. After the party concluded, Lin Mo sat in Luo Yun's luxury car, driving far away from his family estate. Luo Yun casually noted that Du Jiayu was quite beautiful. She warns him to think twice about whether he will regret breaking this engagement. But Lin Mo does not care because his fiancée has zero interest in him. Since she hates wasting time, her beauty and intelligence do not matter. Meanwhile, Luo Yun still suggests he should spend more time with the girl to understand her true feelings. Who knows, maybe he would change his mind. Still, Lin Mo has no desire to marry a girl who hates him, so he flat out refuses. Looking over at his driver, he adds that he is not the kind of man who chases after things he cannot have while ignoring what is right in front of him. Luo Yun laughs at his smooth words, teasing that he has a silver tongue. Before long, she stops the car and tells him they have reached his destination. Lin Mo hops right out and immediately starts typing away on his phone. A moment later, a sharp notification chime rings out from Luo Yun's side. He shares his number, telling her to call if she ever needs help. Luo Yun smiles warmly, clearly pleased by his gesture and happy they got to meet. She bids him farewell with a bright smile, showing how much she enjoyed his company. Her eyes show just how much she appreciated meeting him under these crazy circumstances. She quickly drives off toward home before he can even say goodbye. Lin Mo is left standing there, but he is in no rush to head inside just yet. Instead, he reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a folded note. It is a letter from his grandfather, telling him not to worry about him. The old man was actually faking his sickness to avoid dealing with greedy family members. All of them are fighting over the family inheritance, pure greed. Lin Mo smiles, never expecting his clever grandfather to pull off such a wild stunt. What a brilliant escape plan. The next day, Lin Mo heads straight to the family resort to handle his business, but two guards stop him at the entrance. The guards are in no rush to let an uninvited stranger inside their master's territory. Lin Mo explains that he is from the Lin family, asking to see Grandpa Du. He requests to be let through to speak with Grandpa Du. Instantly, a guard radios the other security staff to report that the kid is entirely alone. They finally step aside and tell him the old master is waiting inside. Smiling, Lin Mo thanks them. He quickly heads inside. He walks up the grand steps, leading to the massive Du family cruise liner. Up on deck, a crowd of wealthy guests is relaxing around the luxury pool. Right in the middle of them is Grandpa Du, the very man he is seeking. The elder is lounging comfortably on a deck chair, soaking up the warm sun. He greets Lin Mo, curious about why the boy has sought him out. Lin Mo wants this over quickly. He gets straight to the point. He asks the patriarch if he is close with his granddaughter, Du Cheu. Grandpa Du immediately tenses up, fearing that something terrible has happened to her. Lin Mo quickly reassures him, explaining that there is no need to worry. He directly explains that she simply is not happy with their arranged marriage. Grandpa Du chuckles, saying it is perfectly normal for young couples to bicker. He tells Lin Mo not to take her attitude too seriously. But Lin Mo believes they are too different, and if she refuses, he won't push. He has no intention of wasting her time. Suddenly, a nearby family member glares. Audacity, especially since he made such a cocky decision all on his own, but Mr. Du stepped in immediately, ordering the outspoken man to shut up and not speak to Lin Mo like that. Instantly, all the guests on the cruise ship fell silent, completely shocked that the powerful head of the family would be so incredibly tough. In the end, Mr. Du seriously questioned him one more time, asking if he had really came specifically to break off the engagement. Lin Mo confidently confirmed his intentions, emphasizing that after today, he and Dutcha would be complete strangers. Realizing there was no point in fighting it, Mr. Du sighed heavily and finally agreed to call off the match. Lin Mo thanked him for the opportunity, promising to take absolutely all of the blame himself as he prepared to leave, not wanting to waste another second of the busy old man's precious time. He quickly turned around and dryly bid farewell to the entire Du family, who definitely did not expect things to end like this. Honestly, nobody expected the old master to let this breakup happen so quietly, fearing that the inevitable rumors would spread quickly. Mr. Du hated anyone opposing his decisions. After all, it did not concern the ordinary family members, and besides, he already knew all about their secret ties with the Luo family. He believed the Luos were far more powerful than the Lin family, meaning if Dutcha married one of them, it would benefit the Dus immensely. Naturally, Mr. Du fully understood all of this, which is why, now that the engagement was already officially called off, there was absolutely no reason to hide anything. Lin Mo then quickly headed downtown. Right in the middle of a very busy street, he got quite lucky and ran straight into his teacher, Song Lianju. He was thrilled by this happy coincidence, immediately offering to help carry her heavy shopping bags. She was absolutely delighted by this sudden good luck and gladly handed over the heavy burden to her student. Lin Mo instantly noticed she was carrying a beautifully wrapped gift, so he curiously asked whose birthday it was. To his surprise, Song Lianju herself was celebrating her birthday today. Since she was carrying everything, Lin Mo assumed she was celebrating all by herself, but the teacher quickly corrected him. She was planning a small gathering with some close neighbors and warmly invited Lin Mo to join the party. The young man had absolutely not expected such a warm invitation from Song Lianju. Completely shocked, he hesitated, unsure how to reply, but of course, someone just had to ruin the moment. Arrogant Li Guanghua, flanked by bodyguards, abruptly intervened. He mocked the idea of Song Lianju having such a boring birthday, so he suggested a grand party, but she calmly replied that she had absolutely no need for it, since she already found people to celebrate with. Li Guanghua assumed she meant her close friend Zai, so he offered to bring her along too, claiming grand birthday parties are crucial. But Song Lianju was not about to fall for any of his shallow, silly tricks, being Chinese and having zero interest in Korean traditions. But the moment she turned around to leave, she saw one of his guards had already blocked her path. She immediately tensed up, demanding to know what Li Guanghua was trying to pull. He only grinned back in response, leaving her sharp question unanswered. He had been looking for this. Li Guanghua had been chasing Song Lingru for a very long time, putting in massive effort, so now he just cannot understand why she refuses to give him a single chance. It is hard for this guy to believe she would choose some random weakling over an elite like him. The main character, Lin Mo, is pretty annoyed to be dragged into this nonsense when it has absolutely nothing to do with him. To make things worse, Song Lingru claims that compared to Lin Mo, Li Guanghua is total trash, but this cocky suitor refuses to back down, simply because he is completely infatuated with her and wants her. He warns our hero not to get any ideas, not even one. She will just dump him the absolute second he loses his usefulness. The girl is completely disgusted by his incredibly rude behavior and tells him to stop with the cheap slander, yet the guy sees no issue with his claims, totally convinced that she will ditch Lin Mo sooner or later. Song Lingru warns him to walk away peacefully right now because she will not tolerate any more of his childish games. Still, Lai Guanju stands there with a smug grin, utterly convinced she stands zero chance against him. Completely losing her patience, she throws a sharp punch at him, but he easily slips the blow. The guy actually loves this fiery attitude, so he mockingly invites the beauty to try again so he can teach her a few moves. Now, Lin Mo is realizing that being a helpful gentleman is a total nightmare. He only wanted to help carry her bags, and yet here he is, dragged into a street fight. Suddenly, one of the bodyguards decides to stop wasting time and lunges at supposedly helpless Lin Mo, but our hero saw this coming a mile away. Carefully tracking his attacker's clumsy movements, with perfect timing, the young man counters instantly, planting a powerful and precise fist right into the thug's face. Even an elite professional cannot withstand the sheer power of our main character. He collapses to the cold floor, completely unconscious. His partner rushes next, only for Lin Mo to drop him with another single, flawless blow. In the blink of an eye, the young man stands untouched while his enemies groan on. Song Lingru is absolutely dumbfounded by this sudden, unbelievable turn of events, frantically asking if our hero is hurt. To keep his cover, he smiles and says he just saw two scary guys closing in, but after he blinked, once they were already knocked out cold on the pavement. The slick protagonist pretends some mysterious expert must have saved them, but Song has a very hard time buying that story since there is literally nobody else around. Still, she is just relieved that Lin Mo is safe and sound, so she drops the questions. At that moment, the bruised, bald bodyguard struggles to sit up, desperately trying to expose the truth that this weak-looking kid is actually a monster. But our hero does not want his secret out, so he casually stomps on the man's fingers. Defeat. Meanwhile, an increasingly annoyed Song Lingru demands that our young hero hurry up and leave this place, since these clowns completely ruined her mood. But of course, Lai Guanju is not about to let them walk away so easily after this kid dared to trash his personal squad. The girl is sure his men got exactly what they deserved, so she mockingly suggests her arrogant admirer go hunt for that imaginary master who supposedly beat them. This guy despises martial artists anyway, claiming they only know how to hide like rats. He scanned the area, hoping to find someone to step in and save them. But the tension was rising fast. Lin Mo locked eyes with Lai Guanju, body completely tense. Lai Guanju was clearly lagging behind, but Song Lingru sensed the sudden danger. She quickly held her disciple back, knowing this fight was bad news. The opponent was a seasoned Taekwondo champion and a total beast in combat. Lai Guanju kept throwing insults, trying to get under our hero's skin. He sneered, calling him a lowlife who could only hide behind a woman's skirt. Standing on the sidelines now meant losing his pride, and he refused to do that. Instead, he decided to play a little game. He turned to Lai Guanju with a calm grin. His voice carried pure confidence as he challenged the champion to show what he could actually do. The arrogant champion smirked, thrilled that Lin Mo actually had the guts to accept. Lin Mo just wanted to finish this fast and see if his opponent actually had skills. Lai Guanju lunged forward with pure, unchecked aggression. The champion accelerated instantly, absolutely sure Lin Mo would soon be begging for mercy. To him, the kid stood zero chance against his overwhelming, aggressive strength. Song Lingru knew she couldn't step in to help her student now. She had to stand back, desperately calling out for him to be careful. Lin Mo could tell right away that this opponent wasn't some weak, ordinary punk. Still, if Lai Guanju expected an easy victory, he was dead wrong. Honestly, the champ was dreaming if he thought this would be a walk in the park. Relying on his sheer power, Lai Guanju pressed the assault, driving Lin Mo back. Lin Mo easily dodged the first wave of strikes, keeping his eyes locked on him. Then he cleanly blocked a heavy, sweeping kick while perfectly maintaining his balance. Lai Guanju smirked, genuinely surprised the kid could block his signature turning kick. He paused for a second, curious to see what Lin Mo would try next. After all, the kid was still stuck in a highly disadvantageous position. Song Lingru watched in terror, feeling the raw, destructive force of that kick. She held her breath, genuinely worried her disciple might have been seriously hurt. Even Lai Guangju was stunned. That kick could have easily shattered thick wooden boards. But somehow Lin Mo stood his ground, completely unshaken. He calmly assured his teacher he was fine, admitting the champion was pretty decent. Song Lingrao realized her student was holding his own remarkably well against the beast. She asked when he had gotten so strong, and he attributed it to military training. After being discharged, he realized his weakness and pushed himself to the limit. Seizing the moment they were talking, Lai Guangju launched a cheap, surprise attack. But Lin Mo was already one step ahead, fully expecting this dirty move. He thrust both of his hands forward, setting up a quick wall of defense. Lai Guangju spotted the movement, instantly assuming the kid was trying to grab his leg. There was no way he would let Lin Mo pull off that kind of counter. He needed a counter strategy right now, so midair, he made a split-second decision. He shifted his attacking foot in mid-flight, aiming a sharp sidekick instead. It looks like a direct hit. Even Song Lingrao thinks he is completely finished. But Lin Mo had insane, lightning-fast reflexes, keeping his head completely clear under pressure. Even in this desperate spot, he contorted his body and narrowly dodged. He executed his plan perfectly, firmly grabbing the arrogant champion's leg. His opponent's leg, Lin Mo was absolutely furious with this guy and decided to teach him a lesson for being so arrogant. He twisted Li Guangju's foot with all his might, immediately followed by an incredibly sickening crunch. Feeling this unbearable pain, even a seasoned martial artist like him shrieked in agony. Finally, our Lin Mo warned Li Guangju not to pull off stunts he could not handle because it only made him look like an absolute fool. With those parting words, our hero strolled over to Song Lingrao, and the two calmly walked away together, leaving the humiliated weakling behind. Once they made it back to the main street, the teacher confessed that she never expected things to play out like this. She was amazed that Lin Mo had grown so strong in only a few months, but our hero casually claimed he only trained for his health. Still, Song Lingrao was haunted by this persistent feeling that she was speaking to an entirely different person this whole time. Realizing he had improved in every possible way, suddenly she recalled that her roommate was also an absolute beast at martial arts. Our hero guessed she was talking about Ziki, the girl Li Guangju mentioned earlier. The teacher then revealed that her roommate had actually been training in swordsmanship since childhood, wielding the blade like a natural extension of her own arm. Lin Mo realized she must be highly skilled, so he asked what real pros like her actually did for a living, but Song Lingrao had no idea. Instead, she happily invited him over for tea, since her friend was already home. Lin Mo politely declined. He had urgent errands to run, but wished her a wonderful afternoon. After saying goodbye, he walked away. Still, Song Lingrao called out for him to return soon. Later, as Lin Mo peacefully walked down the street, a wild chase suddenly broke out right behind him. Heard a loud, frantic commotion unfolding right behind him. Turns out, some bold thief had snatched a purse in broad daylight and was desperately trying to outrun his pursuers. From the police at breakneck speed, this ruthless outlaw was not going to yield easily, screaming for everyone to get out of his way, sprinting blindly across the active road right where a police car had suddenly screeched to a halt, blocking his path. A female officer leaped out of the vehicle to chase the suspect and take him down before he could vanish into the surrounding crowd. The desperate crook tried to vault over a tall fence, but his foot slipped catastrophically. He crashed hard, sending the stolen purse clattering loudly across the asphalt right in front of her. Without losing a second, the officer leaped directly over the metal barrier to close the distance. Fenced to capture him, pinning him to the ground with expert precision. She coldly warned him that any attempt at resisting arrest would be completely and utterly futile. He clicked his tongue in pure frustration, fully aware that there was absolutely no escape left. Suddenly, the cornered thief drew a sharp pocket knife, attempting to viciously threaten her. But the brave policewoman did not back down, firmly ordering him to drop the weapon immediately, warning that assaulting an officer is a massive, serious crime. The thug scoffed, believing he was only guilty if they actually locked him up. But with police sirens wailing in every direction, escape was already completely out of the question. She offered to let the assault charge slide if he surrendered peacefully right now. But a desperate, cornered criminal like him was never going to make this easy for her. He would never go down without a fight, making her peace offer a total fantasy. The situation with this intruder was getting too complicated, leaving her with absolutely no choice. Officer Wang was ready to arrest the bandit, but he started waving a knife to keep her away. She moved fast, acting quite professionally to handle the threat. Instantly grabbing the thief by the arm, she completely pinned him down. Pinning him to the dirt, she reminded the thief that he had a choice before all this. Why did he have to make things so incredibly complicated? Now he just earned himself a brand new resisting arrest charge. Suddenly, a heavy boot flies right at Officer Wang, and trust me, she did not see this coming. A cold voice warned her that it was best to stay out of their business. She realized instantly that this thief had some backup showing up to the fight. Lucky for her, she had pretty incredible reflexes and dodged the strike just in time. This was when Officer Wang realized she was dealing with an actual syndicate. One of the gangsters coldly told her, "There are some things you should just ignore." A girl really should not go looking for trouble on her day off. Officer Wang was completely furious. She absolutely could not just let these criminals walk away. The gangster got pretty annoyed by her stubborn attitude and prepared to strike. He got pretty annoyed by her stubbornness and decided to deal with her. Officer Wang managed to dodge the first strike, but instantly realized she was totally trapped. Stumbling back helplessly against the fence, she had absolutely nowhere left to run. The bandit drew his blade and rushed forward to end this quickly. But right at that exact second, someone caught his arm and stopped the fatal blow. A voice pointed out that everyone makes mistakes, so maybe he should forgive her. It was our protagonist Lin Mo, who really did not want to see anyone get killed today. There was absolutely no need for a routine robbery to turn into a murder scene. Surprisingly, the bandit actually agreed and decided to let the officer slide this time. He warned her that she had better stay out of other people's business in the future. Lin Mo smiled, pretty glad he solved that little issue so easily. But as he watched them walk away, he did not notice the handcuffs. Officer Wang suddenly slapped the handcuffs on him, leaving Lin Mo completely and utterly confused. She snapped that he needed to realize exactly what he had just done. He did not see the issue. All he did was save a cop in trouble. But there was no way Officer Wang was going to believe his story. She was absolutely convinced that Lin Mo was working with those gangsters. Lin Mo was pretty annoyed by her suspicion since he had literally just met those gangster guys. But why on earth did the criminals listen to him so easily then? Lin Mo was certain they only left because they knew they would lose a fight. He was entirely sure those thugs only backed off because they could never beat him. Officer Wang highly doubted this kid could take on 3 armed gangsters alone. She was definitely taking him down to the station to sort this whole weird mess out. Lin Mo finally realized that things were getting pretty serious. Panic set in because he had a ton of crucial plans for today. Everything he had lined up for the day was literally ruined in a single second. Right then, another patrol car pulled up and a second officer got out. He immediately called out to Officer Wang, recognizing her on the spot. Lin Mo watched as the official backup she had called for earlier finally arrived on scene. She had managed to handle the criminal on her own. Then, the girl explained that it was not the same robber, though they suspected he might be connected to a gang of bandits. The officer agreed to help her out and drive the suspect to the precinct himself, letting Ms. Wang head back to the station on her own. But now the female officer felt awkward, since she needed assistance getting into the vehicle, having managed to painfully sprain her ankle during the scuffle. Placing our hero inside, the officer rushed over to assist his colleague, immediately noticing that she was actually quite clumsy while she tried explaining how everything simply got out of hand. Suddenly, Ms. Wang froze. Honestly, you will not believe what she saw next. It was clear that Lin Mo had somehow slipped right out of his tight handcuffs. He was gone. Now the stunned cops highly doubted that this mysterious suspect was just some regular civilian. Meanwhile, Lin Mo was busy thinking he really should not have pried into their business when someone suddenly shouted. Our hero was completely taken aback to see Song Liangru standing right there. Even though she should have gone home ages ago, she quickly explained she had forgotten to purchase spices, prompting her to head out before suggesting they walk back together, inviting Lin Mo to visit some of her friends. In the end, he agreed, knowing it was the ultimate cover from the police. Quite quickly, they finished at the market and returned home, where Zixi was waiting, highly surprised they got back so fast without any trouble. One of her friends teased Song Liangru for bringing home such a gorgeous catch, asking what name this handsome man went by. Meanwhile, another friend told Zixi to stop staring so hard before she scared him away completely. our main character politely introduced himself, saying with a warm smile that he was glad to meet them. The girls could not wait, urging their friend to introduce him immediately, until she finally presented Lin Mo to the room. Briefly calling him her apprentice, Zixi instantly assumed this handsome guy was their favorite guest since she brought him over. Song Liangru then revealed that Lin Mo had helped her teach Lai Guangyu a lesson, so she invited him over to properly thank him. The friends were genuinely surprised to hear this, as they had no idea Lai Guangyu was causing trouble again. Zixi asked if she could call Lin Mo by a nickname, mentioning that while their acquaintance was a total scoundrel, his combat skills were actually top tier. Our hero sat next to them, modestly noting that his skills were nothing compared to the amazing girl he had heard so much about. Zixi quickly guessed that Song Liangru had shared details about her abilities, since he otherwise would not have known. She then casually mentioned that a close acquaintance of theirs, Mangyuan, was currently living abroad, leaving a comfortable room completely empty here. Lin Mo surely did not expect a moving offer so suddenly, and since he had already found a place to stay, there was no need. Still, the girl insisted he take the downstairs room and assist the others in moving their things upstairs whenever needed. Song Liangru agreed with her roommates and warmly invited him to live there so they could support one another. Since the girls were so persistent, our hero finally decided to accept their sudden offer. He was immediately warned that the second floor was strictly for girls, making it completely off limits without permission. He also had to clean up after himself and wash the dishes whenever they ate together. Lin Mo was starting to sweat under all these rules, but Zai quickly explained that there really weren't that many. She told her new neighbor to listen closely to every detail. Soon, she finished listing the rules and suggested they finally start the celebration. Everyone remembered they were all there to celebrate Songju's birthday. 2 days later, reality hit. Living with girls was hard. Even simple grocery shopping felt like a massive chore. Eventually, Lin Mo was finally able to pack all the grocery bags into his trunk. Right then, a voice behind him cheered at this totally unexpected reunion. Lin Mo spun around in shock. It was that very same female officer, already dangling a pair of shiny handcuffs. He admitted, completely dazed, that he really had not expected to run into her, but watch his next move. Lin Mo decided to play dumb and pretended there was something absolutely incredible right behind her, and she actually fell for it. By the time she turned back, Lin Mo was already long gone. Furious, she screamed at the top of her lungs, alerting the whole street. Suddenly, she spotted him pedaling away, trying to escape. She scrambled right into her squad car and floored the gas in hot pursuit of Lin Mo, who was riding incredibly fast. Meanwhile, Song Lingro still had no idea where Lin Mo had vanished. At that very moment, a cute couple was strolling down the sidewalk, totally clueless about the absolute chaos heading their way. The girl was happily chatting when a blurry figure suddenly whizzed right past them. Confused, she looked down only to realize her ice cream cone was completely gone. Before they could react, a roaring police car flew past them, chasing the mystery thief. The boyfriend was totally baffled. He had never seen a bike trigger a cop chase. Talk about bad luck. Our fleeing hero was incredibly annoyed by how stubborn this cop was. Even worse, he knew his bike tires would not hold up much longer. At this speed, Lin Mo desperately needed a detour fast. Spotting a narrow, hidden alleyway ahead, he veered right in. But the sharp officer was tracking his every move, instantly matching his sudden turn. A confident smirk spread across her face. She was absolutely certain there was no way he could shake her off now. Unaware that his escape plan had already failed completely, Lin Mo walked calmly down the street, celebrating his victory over that crazy cop. But a split second later, a sharp metal click echoed in the air. He froze as cold handcuffs clamped tight around his wrist. Defeated, he muttered that she was genuinely insane for hunting him down like this. The officer just shrugged. To her, it was simple police work, and she was bringing this fugitive straight to the station. Lin Mo kept yelling that he was innocent, demanding she let him go immediately. Dangerous robbery was happening right behind the female officer's back. She was not about to fall for Lin Mo's antics again, but he sounded completely serious. She warned him that he was dead meat if he tried fooling her. But screams nearby made her realize he was actually telling the truth. She ordered Lin Mo to stay put while she went to investigate the chaos. Naturally, our main character had absolutely zero intention of listening to her. He immediately started working on slipping right out of those handcuffs. Just as he was ready to bail, things took a crazy turn with a hostage. This actually caught his interest, since he wanted to see how this drama unfolded. Plus, he had never seen a robber try to use human shields before. A massive crowd had gathered inside the mall, completely frozen in absolute panic. The gunman was screaming wildly, threatening to shoot the helpless victim in his grasp. Sneaking closer, Lin Mo realized the robber had actually grabbed a cop. Bystanders whispered that the gunman originally held a little girl as a hostage. But this incredibly brave female officer had willingly traded places with the kid. Lin Mo was genuinely surprised that she possessed such a massive, selfless heart. Even with a gun to her head, she kept completely cool. She firmly ordered Lan Zedong to drop his weapon because he was completely surrounded. But Lan Zedong refused to give up, demanding they back off and prepare a getaway car. Otherwise, he warned, his hostage would pay with her life. Meanwhile, Lin Mo was getting pretty annoyed by all the senseless screaming. Honestly, I did not see this coming. He just plopped down right on the floor. This bizarre move instantly distracted Lan Zedong right in the middle of his threats. Lin Mo did not say a word and casually started fixing his hair. The female officer gasped in total shock when she saw him standing there. She desperately tried to tell him to run because the situation was incredibly dangerous. But Lin Mo had a plan, pretending to be a massive fan of the criminal. He claimed he had a special gift he wanted to give to brother Lan. Right then, a lady in the crowd shrieked that Lin Mo had stolen her bag. Ignoring her completely, he kept going on about how much he admired the thug. He declared that Lan Zedong was his ultimate idol and he always wanted to be like him. The officer was absolutely furious at his incredibly ridiculous behavior. Now she was absolutely convinced that he was nothing but a brainless idiot. Lin Mo suddenly gagged her, telling her to shut up and let the men talk. He snapped that she had no right to interrupt his conversation with brother Lan. The robber was getting incredibly stressed out by this kid's absolute, baffling nonsense. He told Lin Mo to go fetch him a car so they could talk later. The young man happily obliged, remembering exactly where the female officer parked. Taking his sweet time, he slowly strolled outside. He walked back in and casually warned that a sniper was right outside. The shocked criminal immediately demanded to know if he was telling the truth. He peeked out the window, only to realize the kid had totally lied to him. There were no snipers, but that split-second distraction was all Lin Mo needed. He suddenly lunged forward, hurling the heavy stolen bag right at Lan Zedong. The gunman barely reacted in time, raising his arm to block the flying object. He pulled the trigger without hesitation, but the gun misfired, leaving Lin Mo completely unscathed. With lightning-fast reflexes, the young man ducked low to grab his attacker's arm. Pivoting on his heel, he drove a brutal elbow straight into the bandit's temple. The heavy, bone-crushing blow immediately sent the criminal crashing to the cold ground. Lan Zedong's vision spun violently, and within a single breath, he was eating dirt. Lin Mo kept hitting the thug, who spat threats of bloody revenge. Meanwhile, the female officer was losing her temper with this chaotic mess. She snapped, screaming that she was done playing nice and would end him. She wanted to settle the score with this troublesome guy right then. But Lin Mo just casually asked her to return the stolen purse first. He claimed his hands were too full, and surprisingly, she agreed to help. She immediately bent down to gather up the items scattered across the concrete. Trapped in handcuffs by two officers, Lan Zedong glared with pure, venomous rage. This humiliation burned deep, and he was already plotting a brutal revenge. An hour later, Lin Mo finally made his way back home to his new roommates. They had absolutely no idea about the chaotic battle he just survived. Song Lianju immediately cornered him, asking where he had run off to. He sighed, offering only a vague answer. He admitted he was just having a terrible run of bad luck lately. The girl refused to drop it, genuinely worried about her friend's safety. He just smiled, insisting that nothing major had actually happened out there. Stepping inside, he noticed his friend glued to a music show on television. She sighed, wishing she could attend, but complaining that tickets were impossible. Right then, Zixi turned around and spotted the boy standing nearby. She jokingly demanded a proper apology for his sudden disappearing act. Knowing he was cornered, Lin Mo readily agreed to make things right. He told the girls to wait a moment while he made a call. Slip away for a private call, that only made them more suspicious. They wondered why he always seemed wrapped up in some secret trouble. Zixi was starting to doubt he was just a regular high schooler. His whole vibe was shrouded in way too much mystery. Song Lianju agreed, saying he possessed a rare, intense kind of maturity. But they had no idea just how deep his secrets really ran. Within minutes, he had actually secured tickets to the massive concert. He smiled, telling them they were cleared for the show in 3 days. Zixi squealed in delight, demanding to know how he pulled this off. He kept quiet about old man Wang, simply claiming he had connections. The following day, the entire group went out to eat together. But Lin Mo immediately noticed the restaurant was eerily quiet that afternoon. Then the girls spotted someone they knew sitting across the room. Almost instantly, that girl felt a heavy gaze locking onto her. She whipped her head around, staring straight back at their table. Lin Mo focused his gaze, sensing a strange vibration in her chest. A dense swirl of Kai energy was hidden right there, shocking him. He never expected to run into another genuine cultivator in this diner. His buddy teased him about having a great eye for beauty, and the guy readily agreed, adding that aside from her looks, the stunning stranger seemed remarkably calm. Unfortunately, Song Lingju did not appreciate them praising some random, gorgeous woman at all. So she stomped on the foot of Lin Mu with all her might. Our hero did not expect that sudden, agonizing sting and whined about what he did wrong. An annoyed Zixi snapped that his eyes were practically popping out of his head, demanding that he quit staring like a creep and go get them some food already. Lin Mu figured she must have overheard them, even if she played dumb. Meanwhile, Song Lingju claimed she knew absolutely nothing about the girl, leaving our hero totally with nothing but his own wild theories to chew on in silence. Even his master silently assumed the boy had fallen head over heels at first sight. Lin Mu quickly clarified that she just felt incredibly familiar to him. Plus, there was a pretty strange aura radiating from her that he could not ignore. Song Lingju was not buying his excuses and let out a heavy, unhappy sigh. Sensing the danger, our hero knew he had to act fast. He reached into his pocket and whipped out prime front row tickets for the Yaoxian show. The girls snatched up the VIP tickets, their anger melting away instantly. A bright, excited smile immediately lit up the face of Song Lingju as she finally forgave him. She happily promised to round up all her friends and head over right after class. Before long, they arrived at the massive venue, which was already swarming with hyped-up fans. The girls were blown away that Lin Mu managed to score such good seats. They marveled at the popularity of Yaoxian, seeing the massive crowd and security around. There were easily over 1,000 police officers on patrol around the stadium. To Zixi, this made perfect sense because the young singer was an absolute superstar. Out of everyone there, only Lin Mu had no clue who was performing. Right on cue, the dazzling star everyone had been waiting for stepped onto the stage. She flashed a stunning smile, greeting her screaming fans with pure joy. She said she was thrilled to perform in Dunhai as the massive crowd cheered wildly. Every single person in the arena was screaming their love for her. Yaoxian told them that she was only standing there because of their incredible support. She dedicated her very first song to everyone who had backed her. She asked everyone to enjoy her special track, To the Descendants of True Love, 3 hours later. The show was still going, and she was already looking pretty exhausted by now. But the next part of the performance promised to be even more exciting. Yaoxian announced that she wanted to invite someone from the crowd to help on stage. She asked the stage crew to scan the audience with the spotlight to find someone. Right away, Zixi started waving her hands frantically to draw their attention. She watched the bright beams slowly drifting right in their direction with immense excitement. She was already celebrating, hoping she would be the lucky chosen fan. Suddenly, Yaoxian called for the light to freeze as she finally spotted her target. And guess who the lucky winner of the spotlight was? Our main character, who was completely blindsided by this sudden turn of events. The singer beamed happily, inviting the shocked young man to head up to the stage. Zixi stared in total disbelief, wondering why Lin Mu was still sitting there. He looked completely frozen, as if he had absolutely no intention of moving at all. Lin Mu had no interest in going on stage. He honestly had no idea why he was chosen. His friend explained everything. He was the lucky winner who got to perform. He was supposed to sing alongside Yaoxian. This shocking news left him completely stunned. Going on stage was out of the question since he literally could not sing. She warned he would embarrass the famous star by refusing. Lin Mo did not care at all. Zixi simply shrugged and did not press him, saying the final choice was entirely his. Up on stage, Yao Xian asked the young man why he was refusing her. The young man explained he was simply too shy to step up under those bright lights. He could not sing anyway, so he wanted this amazing chance to go to someone else. Hearing this, the fans went totally wild. They loved his extremely humble attitude. They praised his smooth words and immediately began begging for their own chance to perform with the idol. Yao Xian let him off the hook and decided to choose another fan instead. A second later, the bright spotlight illuminated a different spectator. It locked onto a brand new target, who practically jumped out of his seat with pure joy. The lucky guy ran up and happily sang a beautiful duet with his favorite star. They shared a warm hug at the end, and the idol thanked him for the incredible support. She waved to the entire crowd one last time, thanking everyone for being there tonight. The venue erupted into a deafening roar of cheers as the show finally came to an end. Our group made their way out, completely thrilled by how amazing the night was. Zixi, however, was pretty annoyed. She kept complaining that Lin Mo had ruined her perfect dream moment. And just like that, two massive security guards suddenly step into the frame. They confronted him directly, and one of them stepped forward to speak. The bodyguard reported that their mistress wanted to meet with the young man in private. This sudden request surprised him. He quickly asked who the lady was. The bodyguard did not hide a single thing, bluntly revealing it was Yao Xian herself. This made Lin Mo even more confused. What could she possibly want? But the guards did not know either. They were just following their mistress's orders. Lin Mo agreed to go. He quietly asked his friends to head home without him. Song Liangru gave him a soft, understanding smile, agreeing, but telling him to return in one piece. Zixi chimed in next, warning him not to forget them after meeting the star. She begged him not to completely forget his loyal friends once he met the famous idol. With a calm and confident nod, Lin Mo told the guards to lead the way. Just 5 minutes later, the guards escorted him straight to the entrance of her private room. From inside, Yao Xian called out, telling him that the door was wide open. She was still in the middle of changing after her show, surprised he got there so fast. Talk about awkward, he completely froze up, totally stunned by what he saw. Blushing deeply, he quickly closed the heavy door to give the singer some necessary privacy. He stammered an apology for walking in on her at such an awkward moment. Yao Xian said it was absolutely fine, explaining she had mistook him for a servant. She quickly threw some clothes on and invited the silent, stunned guy inside. Lin Mo, still completely speechless, slowly stepped into the private room and looked around. He asked Yao Xian directly what she wanted to discuss with him. She teased him, asking why he avoided the stage. Was he afraid she would bite? Lin Mo did not answer immediately. He politely asked her to sit properly. It was simply too hard to talk to her dressed like that. Yeon Xian laughed because the guy looked like such a true gentleman. But behind that polite mask, he could turn into a wild beast at any second. Lin Mo apologized and prepared to leave since she had nothing left to say. But she wasn't about to let him walk away, immediately rising up from her chair. She chased after him, her high heels clicking loudly against the empty room. She caught up to the young man, and the popular singer did something unexpected. She suddenly planted a quick kiss on his cheek, which was pretty bizarre. She immediately stepped back, leaving a completely stunned Lin Mo standing there. He asked if she was all right, but Yeon Xian only giggled sweetly in response. She teased him for being so cold when she just wanted to chat. Left with a bright red lipstick mark on his cheek, he was totally lost. He couldn't understand why a famous superstar would want to talk to him. She explained that he was the very first man to ever reject her. That made him highly interesting. Lin Mo admitted she was indeed gorgeous, but pointed out that not every man would automatically fall for her. His unusual attitude bruised her ego, which actually made her even more curious. Lin Mo apologized if he had somehow offended her or hurt her feelings. But either way, he had zero intention of staying here any longer. He quickly turned around and made a straight run for the exit. She didn't try to stop him, feeling glad she at least learned his name. Meanwhile, Lin Mo rushed straight into the restroom to clean himself up. He needed to wash off that lipstick before it caused major misunderstandings. He knew there was absolutely no way he could explain this weird situation. Especially if anyone he knew caught him. Now, he just wanted to get home. His roommates would definitely lose their minds if he stayed out much longer. So he quickly called a cab to get back to their place. He stepped outside the building and walked toward the designated pickup spot. Suddenly, a strange rustling sound echoed right behind his back. He instantly sensed a hostile presence. A mysterious figure stepped out, telling Lin Mo to turn around slowly so things wouldn't get messy. Knowing he shouldn't make any reckless moves, Lin Mo slowly raised his hands. He calmly suggested they talk things out peacefully instead of fighting. But the cold mercenary replied that he only talks to dead men. He usually shares the truth with his targets, but this time was different. He lost all interest in talking after actually seeing Lin Mo's face. In a flash, the killer drew sharp, hidden blades from his palms. With insane speed, he hurled them straight at the motionless Lin Mo. Even with weapons flying his way, he kept his hands raised. He honestly didn't expect the assassin to start throwing sharp daggers. But he didn't panic, since his skills were way more than enough. Lin Mo casually caught the incoming blades and asked who sent him. The assassin realized right away that his target was no pushover. Deciding to back off for now, he planned to take his life later. But Lin Mo wasn't about to let him escape without getting answers. He quickly made his move to cut off the killer's escape. He throws those exact weapons, just one crisp, rapid shot. They miss, every single blade just hits the dirt as his foe dodges. The assassin warns Lin Mo, stand completely still or face the consequences. Otherwise, he is more than ready to show just how deadly he is. But Lin Mo is not easily shaken, telling his foe to bring it on. Attack only when you are absolutely certain of your victory. Mercenary silently slips away, leaving Lin Mo to realize this foe is incredibly strong. Whoever hired this killer must have paid an absolute fortune for his deadly services. Worse yet, our hero can tell the killer was barely even trying just now. Fighting a monster like that alone is going to be extremely difficult. Still, he cannot dwell on it. His primary focus is simply growing stronger. More power will solve everything. For now, he decides to head back. It is time to go home and meet up with his roommates anyway. Lin Mo thought he was being careful. Why did assassins target him now? It makes absolutely no sense. But wait, here comes another strange encounter. Something incredibly weird is lingering nearby, hidden right within the bustling crowd. Looking around, he spots the exact same girl from the school cafeteria earlier. 17. This bizarre energy is definitely radiating from her, and it is intense. The beautiful girl spots Lin Mo too, instantly recognizing him from before. 1920. At that very instant, a powerful rush of energy surges inside her. 21. She has no idea why her frosty kai is suddenly acting so wild. 22. But she has a strong feeling it is somehow connected to Lin Mo. 23. Lin Mo instantly senses that something is deeply wrong with the girl. She looks incredibly pale, making him wonder if she is actually okay. 24. He gently grabs her arm, realizing this is his chance to ask questions. 26. He can finally ask her about the mysterious Kai energy she possesses. 27. But this beauty absolutely hates being touched by some random stranger. 28. She aggressively slaps his hand away, coldly demanding to know his business. 28. She turns away to leave, leaving our hero totally confused. Lin Mo is not about to let this mysterious girl escape so easily. And honestly, who wouldn't want to get to the bottom of this mystery? He dashes after her as she slips deep into a narrow alley. 32. He calls out, trying to explain he just wants to ask questions. 33. But she ignores him completely, launching herself up with incredible, sharp leaps. 34. Lin Mo is utterly shocked to witness such superhuman agility here. 35. He has never seen anyone move like this in this world before. 36. This mysterious girl is clearly highly proficient in the Ching Kun technique. 37. Within seconds, she is bouncing effortlessly off the high concrete walls. 38. Scaling the rooftops with breathtaking grace, she leaves Lin Mo completely mesmerized. 39. Snapping out of it, he accelerates, refusing to lose his only lead. He pushes himself to the limit, but she is simply too fast. Unfortunately, the incredibly nimble girl has completely vanished from his sight. Panting heavily, he finally stops, realizing he is in an unfamiliar area. 43. 44. The sudden, resonant toll of temple bells echoes through the quiet air. 44. Lin Mo spins around and spots a massive shrine looming behind him. 45. Seeking out where that mysterious sound was coming from, with absolutely nothing left to lose, he decided to step closer and take a look. Quite a few devotees were gathered here, praying for blessings. Right then, our guy felt a massive wave of strong chi energy pouring out from the temple. He spotted an old monk sitting right in the center of the shrine, deeply meditating. The sight left him in absolute awe. Right then, he felt a holy Buddhist golden light completely filling the entire hall. It was honestly hard for the young man to believe his own eyes. The radiant glow felt completely unreal. But then the meditating monk opened his eyes and spoke first, gently, explaining that he was seeing the temple's true light. Lin Mo could barely process it. The master had literally materialized out of thin air. The old master kindly pointed out that the youth had been standing there for a whole hour, prompting him to ask how he could assist. Traveler visiting their shrine, Lin Mo quickly greeted the great master, showing his respect while explaining he was only lost in thought. Meanwhile, the youth couldn't help but marvel at how this gentle old elder carried the pure energy of an immortal. He was honestly stunned that such immense power had drawn him here. Sensing the boy's pure heart, the kind monk told him not to worry and invited him to follow. Lin Mo knew this was his golden chance to uncover some real answers, so he quietly tagged along. He then ventured to ask what this sanctuary truly was. The elder smiled, explaining it was his personal haven for seeking spiritual enlightenment. Lin Mo was stunned that he had stumbled into such sacred ground. It felt totally unreal. He was even blessed to witness the legendary manifestation of Buddha Amitabha, something no normal mortal could ever hope to see. Meanwhile, the holy monk stepped closer to Lin Mo, telling him directly that heavy sins weighed down his soul, but certain mystical techniques could still aid him on his cultivation path. Lin Mo was incredibly grateful for this unexpected chance and bowed deeply. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the fingertips of Amitabha, releasing an immensely powerful wave of energy. The next instant, that sphere of divine power shot forward and struck Lin Mo right in the forehead. Even the great monarch of the temple had never expected Amitabha to personally bestow such a supreme blessing on a mere youth. Still, he didn't dare question the holy design and quietly kept up his prayers. Fast forward one full day, we are back inside the same sacred temple. It seems Lin Mo had passed out right there in the main hall and was now waking up, utterly disoriented. He wondered if this was all just a crazy dream, but the reality of it left him completely dumbfounded. Suddenly, a massive headache hit him, a clear side effect of receiving such raw, overwhelming spiritual knowledge. Walking outside, he realized the sun was already rising. He had been out cold the entire night. Just then, the great monarch quietly materialized behind him with a warm greeting. Lin Mo instantly offered a deep, respectful bow, thanking the elder for the immense gift. The monk gently replied that true compassion knows no boundaries, urging the youth to cherish the sacred knowledge bestowed by the heavens. He realized he had gained massive insights, and he was ready to use them. By noon, he was at Dunhai University. His class had already started. Lin Mo himself was extremely distracted, completely unable to focus on his studies. His mind kept drifting back to that temple from yesterday, a place famous for those ancient seals that ward off terrible luck. It made him realize that showing kindness to others really does pay off. But unfortunately, this new technique was still way too powerful. He simply did not possess enough spiritual kai to handle its power. Even so, the young cultivator was certain this knowledge would prove useful very soon. After all, he had already managed to reach the spirit accumulation stage. He got there way faster than expected, skipping a whole year of training. All thanks to the massive reservoir of kai he had retained from his rebirth. Crossing the threshold of the foundation formation realm had required absolutely zero effort. Armed with this technique, Lin Mo leaped straight to the next level. Entering the new tier meant his progress was finally back on track. Reaching the spirit gathering level made a warrior several times stronger than before. He was exponentially more powerful than anyone at the peak of foundation formation. To be honest, the guy was absolutely thrilled with his insane luck. He was so pleased with his fortune that he let out a quiet chuckle. Only then did Lin Mo realize he was sitting in class and needed to behave. He had to control himself, but the professor already noticed his weird smile. The teacher wondered why Lin Mo was laughing during a lecture on derivatives. Instead of explaining, the young man just apologized quickly to defuse the situation. Once class dismissed, he rushed outside and punched a solid wall to vent. He was annoyed with himself for getting so hyped over a minor upgrade. His weak composure simply did not suit a peerless cultivator. Right then, a strange yet familiar sensation suddenly washed over him again. Lin Mo immediately realized who it was. The same mysterious girl was close. He quickly scanned the crowded street, searching for her distinct presence. There she was, a familiar silhouette, walking through the bustling crowd. At the spirit gathering stage, tracking her from this distance was effortless. This gorgeous stranger definitely possessed some massive secrets of her own. But the beautiful girl was clearly unhappy about this unexpected meeting. She assumed Lin Mo was stalking her on purpose and glared at him. Hoping to keep things peaceful, he decided to introduce himself first. He explained that whenever they got close, their inner energies reacted bizarrely. Their internal energies surged wildly, and he wanted to know why. He asked if she wanted to help him figure out this mystery. The stranger did not bother introducing herself, calling him incredibly ignorant. Still, she knew they could not just ignore this weird connection forever. She instructed Lin Mo to follow her to a much quieter location. That way, they could safely test what was triggering their wild kai. They walked deep into the quiet woods for over 30 minutes before stopping. Lin Mo came to a halt and asked what they should do now. Honestly, his beautiful companion did not seem to have any plans either. He suggests they sit down right there and try to connect their chi to see what happens. With no better options on the table, the beautiful woman goes along with his plan. She crouches down beside him and begins to meditate, focusing deeply. By regulating her breathing, she slowly aligns her cold energy with Lin Mo's aura. Right away, Lin Mo feels their spiritual energy connecting with unbelievable force. Jiking Lan feels it too, noticing her icy chi is becoming incredibly refined. Meanwhile, Lin Mo realizes that this strange process is actively purifying his own energy too. Still, he cannot quite pinpoint what kind of mysterious technique she is using. There is this incredibly chilly, refreshing sensation to it that keeps him guessing. Eventually, they break their meditation, both of them feeling completely refreshed. A bright smile spreads across her face as she notices how powerful her frost energy is. Now Lin Mo finally understands why her presence felt like ice in the first place. Honestly, this special dual cultivation practice might have even bigger things in store. Eager to see what else happens, Jiking Lan suggests they give it another go. She asks him to pour out even more of his spiritual energy this time. Their hands touch once more, and that comforting wave of energy instantly returns. Pushing harder this time, they actively circulate their spiritual energy back and forth. They sit frozen like statues for a solid hour, keeping their palms pressed together. Soon their connection deepens so much that their physical surroundings start to blur. Just like that, Lin Mo and Jiking Lan are suddenly transported into a higher spiritual plane. Lin Mo instantly notices the incredibly thick chi here, boosting his senses to the absolute maximum. He can feel every single tiny detail shifting in the environment around him. When he finally opens his eyes, he realizes their surroundings have transformed completely. Jiking Lan is still oblivious, only enjoying a surprisingly clean, refreshing sensation. But then Lin Mo catches sight of her and blushes furiously, quickly spinning around. He desperately pretends he saw nothing, but Jiking Lan finally senses a draft. Realizing something is off, she looks down at herself in absolute shock. Her face turns a bright crimson as she pieces together what just happened. The embarrassment is too much, her emotions completely boil over. A terrified scream suddenly rings out across the quiet forest. Once dressed, Lin Mo is immediately slapped hard. Even though he had absolutely nothing to do with it, he takes the hit. His cheek stings. He realizes this bizarre situation is actually real. It turns out that entire spiritual world was just a vivid mental illusion. Lin Mo desperately tries to snap Jiking Lan out of it to explain everything. She finally blinks her eyes open, realizing that wild scene was just a vision. It felt so incredibly real, and trust me, his explanation makes perfect sense. Their deep dual cultivation allowed them to temporarily tap into a divine consciousness. That shared mental connection is exactly what triggered such an awkward illusion. Jiking Lan has never heard of anything like that and looks totally baffled. Lin Mo explains that this special energy fusion actually progresses through 3 stages. Once you get past the initial phase, you reach the divine territory. That elevated spiritual state is why they suddenly saw each other without clothes. His vast cultivation knowledge helps him explain everything calmly. Still unable to look him in the eye, she quietly asks for his name. Once again, the young man confirms his name is Lin Mo. Then Jing Lan steps up. She asks if he has a soulmate, leaving him completely thrown off by the sudden question. He wonders why on earth she wants to know something so incredibly personal. Jing Lan gets annoyed by his hesitation and snaps, raising her voice at him. She demands a fast answer, scaring Lin Mo with her incredibly harsh and commanding tone. He quickly tries to prove he is completely single, but she remains highly skeptical. Jing Lan warns him not to lie, because he will not get out of here alive. Lin Mo still desperately tries to understand why she suddenly cares about this. He asks her straight up what is behind this sudden interrogation. She shares her grandfather's advice: she must marry a man who keeps her all to himself. Lin Mo actually agrees with the old man, thinking a girl should stay with her first partner. He genuinely believes that a woman should stick with her very first love. That is when it clicks: Jing Lan plans to marry him right now. Even though absolutely nothing has happened between them yet, she is totally serious. Sounding like an absolute demon, she commands him to take responsibility for her. After all, he saw her body and took her innocence, so there is no backing out. Lin Mo desperately argues that it was only a fake illusion created by divine consciousness. He insists it does not count, but she refuses to back down. To her, what he saw in that illusion is far more real than physical reality. She points out that their family actually has a master of the divine territory. Having read the ancient notes herself, she knows exactly how these illusions work. Lin Mo quickly realizes there is absolutely no way he can lie his way out. Jing Lan will not accept any compromises. She wants a wedding, period. Our hero realizes that taking a wife is an incredibly massive step. He genuinely worries that the two of them might not even be compatible. Beauty simply repeats her grandfather's strict words on marriage. This leaves Lin Mo completely frozen in fear. He is absolutely doomed. He mentally notes that the old man taught his granddaughter a bit too much. He nervously wonders what other crazy lessons she picked up from him. Fortunately, Jing Lan mentions that her grandfather advised against marrying too young. She needs to wait until graduation, focusing on building a relationship with her boyfriend first. Hearing this, Lin Mo breathes a massive sigh of relief. He genuinely thought she would drag him to the altar this very afternoon. With that, she vanishes into the dense forest, leaving Lin Mo to walk back alone. Growing tired of these complicated romantic dramas, he shifts his focus to cultivation. He needs to reach the initial peace stage as quickly as possible. Suddenly, he senses a powerful presence, charging straight toward him at full speed. Thinking it might be another assassin, he tenses, but it is just a random runner. The stranger yells at him to clear the path, closing the distance rapidly. He shows absolutely no signs of slowing down, barreling forward like a runaway train. At the very last second, Lin Mo sidesteps the collision, glad he was not the target. He figures this frantic runner must be in an incredible hurry. But then Lin Mo spots someone else hot on the guy's heels. It is a familiar police officer, chasing the runner down with relentless determination. Still completely clueless about the danger, he assumes she is just doing her job. He was just sprinting. Lin Mo realized being a cop must be pretty brutal, since they have to run like this every single day. But then he noticed that the guy was running way too fast and something felt off. There was a pretty strange and heavy vibe coming from him. His eyes carried a dark, intimidating glare, searching his memories. Lin remembered seeing that exact look back in his home world among powerful fighters. This guy definitely did not have the strength of a true cultivator. And yet his raw bloodlust was completely off the charts, connecting the dots. Lin Mo finally put the puzzle together and realized the female officer was chasing a dangerous criminal. Right then, a sudden gunshot echoed through the air. This was bad. He cursed himself for not stepping in when he had the chance. He let the suspect slip right past him, snapping into action. Lin Mo bolted from his seat and sprinted directly toward the sound of the gunfire. Sliding into a dark alleyway, he saw the female officer collapsed on the ground. The criminal stood right over her, a cold weapon clutched in his hand. The guy spat out that this annoying girl risked her life just to catch him. She was bleeding heavily but still breathing, By some miracle, she was conscious. Panicking for her safety, Lin Mo immediately rushed over to help in any way he could. He carefully propped her up to check where the bullet had hit. Examining her wound, he saw the entry point was dangerously close to her heart. This was incredibly critical, but looking closely at the blood flow, he realized the bullet must have barely missed her vital organs. It was a lucky break in a terrible situation, but still pretty grim. He softly reassured her, promising that she was going to survive this. A small flicker of hope returned to her eyes. Still, the female officer begged Lin Mo to run and save himself, but he had no intention of leaving. Instead, he firmly told her to press down on the wound with her hands. She could only watch in confusion as Lin Mo stepped toward the armed criminal. He did not even have a weapon. She genuinely believed this guy. It was absolutely insane to throw his life away like this for a complete stranger. The criminal scoffed, mocking Lin Mo for trying to play the heroic savior. He laughed, figuring this kid must have some kind of massive death wish. He sneered that action movies were not real life and prepared to prove it. Without another word, he raised his gun and fired straight at Lin Mo. But check this out, a second later, the thug froze in complete disbelief. His bullet completely missed, and then a wave of cold dread washed over him. The gun clicked empty, but his target had easily dodged the shot anyway. He stared in horror, questioning if Lin Mo was even a normal human being. Lin Mo did not offer an explanation. He just threw a devastating punch right into the criminal's gut. The man instantly doubled over, coughing blood. Completely broken by the sheer force of the blow, seconds later, he collapsed unconscious. Lin Mo knew the strike would not kill him, but he would definitely be out for a very long time. Turning his attention back, he remembered the bleeding officer clinging to life. He rushed back to her side, but she had already blacked out. She was losing way too much blood. To check on her, Lin Mo immediately reached down to feel her pulse. The throb under his fingers was dangerously weak. He needed to get her to a hospital right away before time ran out. Luckily, everything went smoothly. When Officer Wang finally woke up, the young man told her exactly what had happened. Well, almost everything. Not wanting to reveal his powers, he made up a story about some guy in his underwear swooping in to punch the criminal right in the chest and save them both. The injured officer laughed when she heard his description of their mysterious hero, and jokingly asked if the guy wore a red cape too. She obviously did not believe a word. Since it sounded straight out of a comic book, she was ready to call Lin Mo out for lying, but a sudden fit of coughing cut her off, forcing the young man to urge her to stay quiet so she could rest. Honestly, he did not expect real superheroes to exist in this world, and figured she had already seen right through him. Still, he was glad to have done some good, so he pulled a special cure from his pocket. The young man offered the pill to Miss Wang and told her to take it quickly. But the officer was in no hurry to swallow some completely unknown pill from a stranger, so Lin Mo quickly tried to reassure her, promising that he would never do anything to harm her. Ultimately, she decided to place her trust in him, but warned him that he had better not be playing any tricks on her. Right then, a doctor walked into the room to announce that Wang's relatives had arrived to check on her. Knowing it was time to step back, Lin Mo decided to take his leave and stay out of their way. The officer said goodbye, thanking him for the cure, and he promised he would come back to visit her soon. Her parents rushed in, completely frantic and panicking as they asked the doctor if their beloved daughter was all right. The female doctor told them not to panic, assuring them that Wang was completely out of danger now. Meanwhile, Lin Mo decided to say goodbye to Dr. Zhou too, but she was not about to let him leave so easily, though he could not quite understand why she was stopping him. Turns out she had spotted him giving the patient that strange pill, and now she wanted some serious answers. To her, giving random medicine to critical patients was incredibly dangerous. The young man quickly tried to calm Dr. Zhou down and lied that it was just some vitamin C in reality he had given Officer Wang a high-grade purifying pill with miraculous healing properties. Without explaining any further, he simply promised her he would return to the clinic in a few days. Once again, Dr. Zhou realized that this person standing before her was definitely not the old Lin Mo she used to know. The scene shifts to the next morning, where we find our hero having breakfast with his roommates. Song Lianju was happily devouring the food he prepared, deeply admiring his culinary talent. Meanwhile, Zai Zai asked why he came back so late last night. Once again, he had to lie, claiming he had just run into an old classmate, but Zai Zai was highly suspicious. That Lin Mo was keeping secrets. She stared straight into his eyes, demanding to know the real truth. Instantly, our hero tensed up because Lin Mo realized the neighbors were starting to doubt his story. His other friend laughed it off, telling him to just ignore her constant silly questions. Wanting to break the tension, Song Ling-ju suggested they go out tonight. He immediately remembered that her friends were actually heading to a birthday party tonight. It was a classmate's birthday party, and the girls insisted that the young man join them, promising they would all become fast friends tonight. But Lin Mo was not eager to go anywhere and tried to decline. No excuses, the girls made it clear they were not taking no. They completely shut down his objections and decided his evening plans for him. Before long, the group was packed into the car and already heading toward the massive luxury venue where this grand birthday celebration was taking place. During the drive, the girls talked about how long it had been since they last saw their old school acquaintance, doubting she even remembered them. They used to share absolutely everything back in their high school days, but family business responsibilities slowly forced them to drift apart over the years. Song Ling-ju realized there was nothing she could do about it now. Two completely different worlds. By evening, they had finally arrived. The destination was a stunningly luxurious mansion that stood tall before them. Zixi confirmed they were at the right place based on the invitation. It was a high-end restaurant hotel called the Princeton. They headed straight inside, taking the elevator up to the 19th floor. Our protagonist was shocked that their classmate, Sidhu Shu, was this wealthy. Song Ling-ju explained that the prestigious Sidhu family has centuries of generational wealth. Their massive inheritance has been passed down for 500 to 600 years. Just then, a sharp bell chimed, letting the group of friends know they had arrived. They stepped out into an incredibly lively and buzzing atmosphere on the floor. Guests were everywhere, actively discussing various topics in a very noisy environment. The sheer scale of the party proved they were indeed a noble family. Our hero realized only the truly elite could draw such a crowd. Suddenly, an excited voice called out to Song Ling-ju from the crowd. It was her persistent suitor, thrilled she made it to Miss Sidhu's party. She had zero interest in talking to him, so she pretended not to notice. Lin Mo paid absolutely no attention to the drama, distracted by a sudden feeling. There it was again, a strange, heavy sensation washed over his senses. It was the absolute aura of a true king. He was stunned. No way someone here could exude such a staggering level of energy. Scanning the crowded room, his eyes locked onto the girl emitting the aura. He was stunned, completely unable to comprehend why she possessed this power. As if sensing his gaze, the mysterious girl turned and looked right back. Her soft voice echoed directly inside his mind, warning him not to stare. He was completely taken aback to find someone capable of telepathy. He never imagined that anyone in this modern world mastered such a technique. This world was proving to be far more fascinating than he expected. Clearly, this world had far more hidden powerhouses than he first thought. Meanwhile, Song Ling-ju noticed he was completely zoned out and gently nudged his shoulder. Whatever caught his eye, he kept it to himself and quickly walked away. He searched for a spot to sit, eventually joining his friends at a vacant table. Once seated, Zixi immediately brought up the girl Lin Mo was eyeing. She teased that this mysterious maiden had to be incredibly charming. Right then, that exact beauty stepped onto the stage, while her assistant called for quiet. Only now did Zixi realize our hero had been staring at their acquaintance this whole time. It was none other than Sidhu Shu, which made him feel quite relieved. He finally gathered some solid details about this strange woman and her unique aura. Her royal presence was quite shocking, and he never expected it from her. Yes, the guest of honor herself, Miss Sidhu, was the source of that power. On stage, the birthday girl grew tense, sensing he was starting to figure her out. She worried that this guy might actually expose her family secrets. The threat of exposure was real, but she quickly regained her composure. She smiled warmly, thanking her guests for taking the time to celebrate with her. She wished everyone a wonderful night, while subtly letting her charm magic drift outward. Her supernatural allure worked instantly, leaving the entire crowd completely captivated. They cheered for their favorite lady, wishing Miss Sidhu a happy birthday once more. Lin Mo immediately noticed something else. She was clearly a master of charm techniques. The crowd's intense reactions proved she was manipulating their minds quite easily. Soon after, the master of ceremonies invited the guests to present their birthday gifts. Right on cue, everyone rushes forward, talk about a desperate crowd. They all wanted to get their tributes handed over as quickly as possible. Guests kept praising her unmatched beauty, but she humbly played down the compliments. High-profile corporate bosses were also in line, hoping to win her favor. They desperately wanted her to appreciate the expensive treasures they brought along. She kept smiling, graciously thanking each person for their time and generous offerings. Lin Mo looked at his companions, asking why they were still sitting there.